Time. Time is the invisible river that carries us through every moment of existence. It flows forward constantly, never stopping, never reversing, always pushing us from what was into what will be. We cannot hold time in our hands or see it with our eyes. Yet we feel its steady pulse in our heartbeats. In the turning of seasons. In the lines that slowly appear on our faces. At its heart, time is how we measure change. When flowers bloom in spring. When cookies bake in the oven. When children grow taller each year. We use time to track these transformations. Without time, everything would freeze in one eternal instant. No before or after. No cause and effect. No stories to unfold. Our brains experience time in peculiar ways. Joyful moments flash by like lightning. Boring waits stretch like molasses. This happens because our minds process time through attention and emotion. When we are happy and engaged, we forget to watch the clock. When we are anxious or bored, every second becomes a small eternity. Time creates the rhythm of our daily lives. We wake at dawn. Eat meals at certain hours. Work during the day. Sleep when darkness falls. Birthdays mark our journey through years. Appointments organize our busy days. Deadlines motivate us to finish tasks. Perhaps most mysteriously, time exists only in this present moment. The past lives in our memories. The future exists in our dreams and plans. But we can only truly touch this single, fleeting instant we call now. Time remains both the most familiar and most puzzling part of being human. Aging. Aging means the slow, steady transformation that happens to every living thing over time. It is life's way of writing its story on our bodies and minds. From the moment we are born, aging begins its quiet work. Cells divide and repair themselves millions of times. Eventually, this process becomes less perfect, less efficient. The signs start to show. Our bodies age in visible ways. Skin becomes softer and develops wrinkles. Hair changes color or falls out. Muscles lose some of their strength. Bones become more fragile. Vision and hearing may fade slightly. These changes happen so gradually that we barely notice them day to day. Like watching grass grow or paint dry. But aging affects more than just our physical appearance. Our brains change too. We accumulate decades of memories and experiences. Wisdom grows from countless lessons learned. We develop better emotional control and deeper understanding of ourselves and others. Young people might learn facts quickly. Older people often see patterns and connections that youth cannot perceive. Aging also changes our perspective on time itself. Children think summer vacation lasts forever. Adults feel years speeding by faster and faster. This happens because each year becomes a smaller fraction of our total life experience. When you are 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your entire existence. When you are 50, 1 year is only 2%. Different cultures view aging in different ways. Some societies honor their elders as repositories of wisdom and experience. Others focus more on youth and physical vitality. But aging remains universal. It connects us to every human who has ever lived. A reminder that life is precious because it is temporary. Gravity. Gravity is the invisible force that keeps our feet planted on the ground and prevents everything around us from floating away into space. It pulls objects toward each other with a strength that depends on how massive they are and how far apart they stand. Earth is so massive compared to us that its gravitational pull dominates everything we experience. This force shapes our entire existence in ways we rarely consider. When you drop a ball, gravity pulls it toward Earth's center. When you pour water from a glass, gravity makes it flow downward. When you jump, gravity brings you back down. Without gravity, we would drift helplessly through the air like astronauts in space stations. Gravity affects our bodies in profound ways. Our muscles and bones stay strong partly because they must constantly work against gravitational pull. Our hearts pump blood upward against gravity's downward tug. When astronauts spend months in space without gravity, their muscles weaken and their bones lose density. Their bodies adapt to the weightless environment. The strength of gravity feels perfectly normal to us because we have never known anything different. But gravity on other planets varies dramatically. On the Moon, you would weigh only 1/6 of your Earth weight. You could jump 6 times higher. On Jupiter, gravity is so strong that you would weigh more than twice as much. Walking would feel like carrying a heavy backpack. Gravity also controls the motion of planets, stars, and galaxies. It keeps Earth orbiting around the Sun at just the right distance. Too close and we would burn. Too far and we would freeze. Gravity shapes the universe itself, pulling matter together to form stars and galaxies while expansion pulls everything apart. This cosmic dance has continued for billions of years. Light. Light is the fastest thing in the universe and the reason we can see the world around us. It travels at an incredible speed of about 186,000 miles per second. Nothing can move faster than light. This speed limit applies throughout the entire cosmos. Light can be a wave like ripples on water. It can also behave like tiny particles called photons. This dual nature puzzled scientists for centuries. Every color we see is actually light vibrating at different frequencies. Red light vibrates slowly. Blue light vibrates quickly. When white light passes through a prism, it separates into a rainbow because each color bends slightly differently. Our eyes contain special cells that detect these different frequencies and send signals to our brains. Our brains then create the experience we call color. Light makes life on Earth possible. Plants use sunlight to create food through photosynthesis. This process converts light energy into chemical energy. Plants then release oxygen that we breathe. Almost all energy on Earth originally came from sunlight. Even fossil fuels like oil and coal are ancient sunlight stored in dead plants and animals from millions of years ago. Light also carries information across vast distances. When you look at stars, you are seeing light that left them years or even centuries ago. Some starlight has traveled through space for thousands of years before reaching your eyes. This means looking at the night sky is like looking backward through time. The further away something is, the older the light we see from it. Humans have learned to create and control light in remarkable ways. Electric bulbs convert electricity into light. Lasers create focused beams of single-colored light. Fiber optic cables use light to carry internet signals around the world. Light has become both our window into the universe and our tool for modern communication. Music. Music means organized sound that touches our emotions and moves our bodies in mysterious ways. It combines rhythm, melody, and harmony to create experiences that can make us dance, cry, remember, or dream. Music exists in every human culture throughout history. No society has ever been discovered without some form of musical expression. At its foundation, music is vibration traveling through air. When a guitar string vibrates, it pushes air molecules back and forth. These sound waves reach our ears and vibrate tiny bones inside them. Our brains interpret these vibrations as different pitches and tones. Fast vibrations create high sounds. Slow vibrations create low sounds. Rhythm gives music its heartbeat. It organizes time into patterns we can predict and follow. Our bodies naturally respond to steady beats. Babies rock to music before they can walk. Adults tap their feet without thinking. This happens because rhythm connects to something deep in our nervous systems. Perhaps it echoes our mother's heartbeat that we heard before birth. Melody is the tune that we hum and remember. It rises and falls like a voice telling a story without words. Different cultures create melodies using different sets of notes. But certain patterns seem to affect humans universally. Minor keys often sound sad. Major keys usually sound happy. Fast melodies feel energetic. Slow melodies feel peaceful. Music affects our brains in powerful ways. It can reduce stress and lower blood pressure. It helps people with dementia remember forgotten experiences. It motivates athletes to push harder during exercise. Musicians who practice for years develop enhanced memory and coordination. Music therapy helps patients recover from strokes and other brain injuries. Somehow, organized sound has the power to reorganize our minds and heal our bodies. Sleep. Sleep is the mysterious state where our conscious minds shut down for several hours each night while our bodies and brains perform essential maintenance work. We spend about 1/3 of our lives sleeping, yet we still do not fully understand why sleep is so necessary. We know that without enough sleep, our thinking becomes fuzzy, our emotions become unstable, and our bodies become sick. During sleep, our brains cycle through different stages. Light sleep comes first, where we can be easily awakened by sounds or movement. Then we sink into deeper stages where our bodies become very still and our breathing slows down. Finally, we enter REM sleep, where our eyes move rapidly behind closed eyelids and most of our vivid dreams occur. This cycle repeats several times throughout the night. While we sleep, our brains work hard to process the day's experiences. Important memories get strengthened and stored in long-term memory banks. Unnecessary information gets deleted. Toxic waste products that build up in brain cells during waking hours get flushed away. New connections between brain cells form and strengthen. This is why students who sleep well after studying often perform better on tests. Our bodies also repair themselves during sleep. Growth hormone gets released to help children grow taller and help adults maintain their muscles and bones. The immune system produces infection-fighting cells. Damaged tissues throughout the body get repaired. Heart rate and blood pressure drop to give the cardiovascular system a rest. Dreams remain one of sleep's greatest mysteries. Sometimes dreams feel incredibly real and meaningful. Other times they seem like random nonsense. Some people remember their dreams clearly. Others rarely remember dreaming at all. Scientists believe dreams help us process emotions and practice responses to possible future situations, but much about dreaming remains unknown. Vibe. Vibe means the subtle, wordless atmosphere that surrounds people, places, and situations. It is the feeling you get when you walk into a room and immediately sense whether the mood is tense, relaxed, exciting, or sad. This happens before anyone speaks to you or explains what is going on. You simply pick up the emotional energy floating in the air around you. Every person carries their own vibe based on their current emotional state, personality, and energy level. Someone who is confident and happy projects a different vibe than someone who is worried and tired. We communicate these feelings through tiny changes in our facial expressions, body posture, voice tone, and even the way we breathe. Most of this communication happens below the level of conscious awareness. Places also have distinctive vibes. A busy coffee shop buzzes with energy and conversation. An old library feels quiet and contemplative. A hospital waiting room carries tension and concern. These atmospheric feelings come from the combination of architecture, lighting, sounds, smells, and the collective emotions of people who spend time there. Our brains are constantly scanning for social and emotional cues to help us navigate complex human interactions. We evolved this ability over millions of years of living in small groups where reading the group's mood could mean the difference between safety and danger. Someone with good vibes makes others feel comfortable and welcome. Someone with bad vibes creates unease and discomfort. Vibe affects our behavior in powerful ways. We naturally mirror the energy of people around us. If everyone at a party is laughing and dancing, we feel more inclined to be joyful. If everyone in a meeting seems stressed and serious, we automatically become more cautious and formal. This emotional contagion happens so quickly that we often change our own vibe without realizing it. Flirting. Flirting means the playful dance of attraction between two people who are testing whether romantic interest might be mutual. It involves subtle signals, teasing conversation, and gentle testing of boundaries. Flirting happens through brief eye contact, light touches, jokes with double meanings, and compliments that feel slightly more personal than normal social interaction. At its heart, flirting is about creating a special bubble of attention between two people. Flirters focus intensely on each other while maintaining an air of lightness and fun. They ask questions that show genuine interest. They laugh more readily at each other's jokes. They find excuses to stand or sit closer together. The conversation feels more charged with possibility than ordinary friendship. Body language plays a huge role in flirting. People unconsciously mirror each other's postures and gestures when attraction is present. They lean in slightly when talking. They touch their own hair or face more often. Pupils dilate when looking at someone attractive. Voices become slightly softer or more animated. These physical changes happen automatically when we feel drawn to someone. Flirting serves important social functions beyond just romantic pursuit. It helps people practice social skills and build confidence. It creates positive interactions that brighten ordinary encounters. A little harmless flirting with a barista or store clerk can make both people's day more pleasant. It signals friendliness and social warmth without necessarily leading to deeper involvement. The art of flirting varies greatly across different cultures and age groups. What feels charming in one context might seem inappropriate in another. Good flirting requires reading social cues carefully and respecting boundaries. It should always feel mutual and enjoyable for both people involved. When done well, flirting adds spark and playfulness to human connections, reminding us that attraction and romance are natural parts of life. Goosebumps. Goosebumps are the tiny bumps that appear on our skin when we feel cold, frightened, excited, or emotionally moved. They happen when small muscles attached to each hair follicle contract and make the hairs stand up straight. This creates the bumpy texture we can see and feel across our arms, legs, and neck. The scientific name for this response is horripilation, but most people just call them goosebumps or chills. This response comes from our ancient evolutionary past when humans had much more body hair. When our furry ancestors felt cold, raising their hair created extra insulation by trapping warm air close to the skin. When they felt threatened, making their hair stand up made them appear larger and more intimidating to predators or rivals. You can see this same response in cats when they arch their backs and fluff up their fur. Modern humans have much less body hair, so goosebumps do not help us stay warm or look scary anymore. But our nervous systems still trigger this ancient response in situations that would have been important for survival. Cold temperatures, sudden loud noises, feelings of being watched, or sensing danger can all cause goosebumps. The response happens automatically without any conscious control. Interestingly, goosebumps also occur during powerful emotional experiences. Beautiful music, inspiring speeches, touching moments in movies, or feelings of awe and wonder can trigger the same response. Some researchers think this happens because these experiences activate the same neural pathways that originally evolved to help us respond to important or threatening situations. People vary in how easily they get goosebumps and what triggers them. Some individuals get chills from music almost daily. Others rarely experience them at all. This difference might be related to personality traits like openness to new experiences and emotional sensitivity. Goosebumps remind us that our modern minds still carry ancient wiring designed for a very different world. Taste. Taste is how we experience the chemical composition of everything we put in our mouths. Our tongues contain thousands of tiny sensors called taste buds that detect different molecules in food and drink. These sensors send signals to our brains, which interpret them as the 5 basic tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. Umami is the savory taste found in foods like mushrooms, cheese, and meat. What we commonly call taste actually combines information from multiple senses working together. True taste comes only from our tongue and mouth. But smell contributes enormously to flavor perception. When you have a stuffy nose from a cold, food tastes bland because you cannot smell it properly. Temperature also affects taste. Ice cream tastes much sweeter when cold than when melted. Texture influences our experience too. Crispy, creamy, and chewy foods create different sensations even when they have identical flavors. Our taste preferences develop through a complex mixture of genetics, culture, and personal experience. Some people are born with more sensitive taste buds and experience flavors more intensely. Cultural background shapes which flavors we encounter early in life and learn to enjoy. Personal experiences create positive and negative associations with specific tastes. A food that made you sick once might taste unpleasant for years afterward. Taste serves important biological functions beyond just making eating enjoyable. Sweet tastes signal energy-rich foods that provide quick fuel for our bodies. Salty tastes help us maintain proper mineral balance. Bitter tastes often warn us about potentially poisonous plants. Sour tastes can indicate spoiled or unripe foods. These preferences helped our ancestors survive in environments where choosing the wrong foods could be deadly. Modern food science has learned to manipulate taste in sophisticated ways. Artificial flavors can mimic natural tastes using completely different chemicals. Flavor enhancers can make foods taste stronger without adding more salt or sugar. Understanding taste has become crucial for creating foods that are both healthy and appealing to our ancient taste preferences. Human eye. The human eye is a living camera that captures light and transforms it into the images we see every moment of our waking lives. This remarkable organ works by focusing light rays through several transparent layers before they hit a light-sensitive screen at the back called the retina. The retina contains millions of specialized cells that convert light into electrical signals, which then travel through the optic nerve to the brain for processing. At the front of the eye sits the cornea, a clear dome that provides most of the eye's focusing power. Behind it lies the iris, the colored part that controls how much light enters by making the pupil larger or smaller. The lens sits just behind the iris and changes shape to fine-tune focus for objects at different distances. This process happens automatically and almost instantaneously as we shift our gaze from near to far. The retina contains two types of light-detecting cells. Rod cells work well in dim light and detect motion and shapes but cannot see color. Cone cells need brighter light but allow us to see the full spectrum of colors and fine details. The center of the retina, called the fovea, contains the highest concentration of cone cells and provides our sharpest vision. What makes human vision truly extraordinary is not just the eye itself but how the brain interprets the signals it receives. The brain fills in blind spots, stabilizes shaky images, and combines input from both eyes to create depth perception. It also performs constant corrections, like flipping the upside-down images the eye actually captures and making sense of the constantly moving picture as we blink, turn our heads, and walk around. Our eyes move in tiny, rapid jerks called saccades several times per second, yet we perceive smooth, stable vision. The brain essentially creates a movie from millions of individual snapshots, filtering out irrelevant information and highlighting what matters most for survival and daily function. Headache. A headache means pain anywhere in the head or neck region that can range from a dull ache to sharp, throbbing agony. Despite being one of the most common human complaints, headaches remain somewhat mysterious. The brain itself cannot feel pain because it lacks pain receptors. Instead, headache pain comes from the muscles, blood vessels, and nerves that surround the skull and neck. The most common type is a tension headache, which feels like a tight band wrapped around your head. These usually result from stress, poor posture, eye strain, or muscle tension in the neck and shoulders. The muscles contract and stay tight for extended periods, creating a steady, dull ache that can last for hours or even days. Migraine headaches are more complex and severe. They often involve intense throbbing pain on one side of the head, along with nausea, sensitivity to light and sound, and sometimes visual disturbances called auras. Scientists believe migraines result from abnormal brain activity that affects nerve signals, blood flow, and brain chemicals. Certain triggers like specific foods, hormonal changes, stress, or changes in sleep patterns can set off migraines in susceptible people. Cluster headaches are less common but extremely painful. They occur in groups or clusters over weeks or months, often at the same time of day. The pain typically centers around one eye and feels like a hot poker being driven through the skull. These may be related to the body's biological clock and certain brain chemicals. Headaches can also signal more serious conditions like infections, high blood pressure, or brain tumors, though this is relatively rare. Most headaches result from everyday factors like dehydration, hunger, lack of sleep, too much caffeine, or sudden caffeine withdrawal. Weather changes, strong odors, and loud noises can also trigger headaches in sensitive individuals. Treatment depends on the type and cause, ranging from rest and hydration to specific medications that target pain pathways or prevent future episodes. Yawning. Yawning is the involuntary act of opening our mouths wide and taking a deep, long breath that often feels incredibly satisfying. This simple behavior remains one of the most puzzling things humans do regularly. Despite decades of research, scientists still debate exactly why we yawn and what purpose it serves. The most obvious trigger for yawning is tiredness or boredom. When we feel sleepy, our breathing often becomes shallow and our brain may not get enough oxygen. One theory suggests that yawning forces us to take a deep breath, delivering extra oxygen to the brain and helping us stay alert. However, this theory has problems because giving people extra oxygen does not reduce yawning, and people in high oxygen environments still yawn normally. Another theory proposes that yawning helps cool down the brain. When we yawn, we stretch our jaw muscles and increase blood flow to the head. The deep intake of cool air and the stretching motion might work together to lower brain temperature. This could explain why yawning increases when we are tired, since a cooler brain functions better and might help us stay awake longer. Perhaps most mysteriously, yawning appears to be highly contagious. Seeing someone else yawn, hearing them yawn, or even just thinking about yawning can trigger the response. This contagious yawning seems to be linked to empathy and social bonding. People who score higher on empathy tests are more likely to catch yawns from others. Children with autism, who often have difficulty with social cues, are less likely to yawn contagiously. Yawning also occurs during times of transition, like waking up or preparing for sleep. It might serve as a way to reset our alertness level or prepare our bodies for a change in activity. Athletes sometimes yawn before competitions, which might help them achieve an optimal state of arousal and focus. Dreaming. Dreaming means the strange, often vivid experiences that occur in our minds while we sleep. Dreams can feel incredibly real while we are having them, filled with people we know, places we have been, and situations that range from perfectly ordinary to completely impossible. Upon waking, dreams often fade quickly from memory, leaving only fragments or vague impressions of what seemed so clear moments before. Dreams occur most frequently during REM sleep, a stage characterized by rapid eye movements, increased brain activity, and temporary paralysis of most voluntary muscles. This paralysis prevents us from acting out our dreams physically, which could be dangerous. During REM sleep, our brains are nearly as active as when we are awake, but the activity follows different patterns and involves different brain regions. The content of dreams draws from our memories, experiences, emotions, and current concerns. People we have met, places we have visited, and situations we have encountered all provide raw material for dream scenarios. However, dreams rarely replay events exactly as they happened. Instead, they mix and match elements in creative and often bizarre combinations. You might dream of your childhood home but find it filled with people from your current workplace. Scientists believe dreams serve several important functions. They may help process emotional experiences, allowing us to work through fears, anxieties, and unresolved conflicts in a safe mental space. Dreams might also help consolidate memories, strengthening important information and discarding unnecessary details. Some researchers suggest dreams allow us to practice responses to potential future situations. Different cultures throughout history have attributed various meanings to dreams. Some view them as messages from gods or spirits. Others see them as glimpses into the future or connections to other realms. Modern neuroscience approaches dreams as natural brain processes, but many aspects of dreaming remain mysterious and continue to fascinate researchers and dreamers alike. Memory. Memory is our ability to store, preserve, and recall information and experiences from our past. It allows us to learn from experience, maintain our sense of identity, and navigate the world using knowledge we have accumulated over time. Without memory, each moment would feel completely new and disconnected from everything that came before. Memory works through three main processes. First, encoding transforms experiences into a form the brain can store. This happens when neurons form new connections or strengthen existing ones in response to what we experience. Second, storage maintains this information over time through ongoing neural activity and chemical changes. Third, retrieval allows us to access stored information when we need it, reconstructing past experiences in our conscious awareness. There are different types of memory that serve different purposes. Short-term memory holds small amounts of information for brief periods, like remembering a phone number long enough to dial it. Long-term memory can store vast amounts of information indefinitely. Within long-term memory, explicit memories are things we can consciously recall, like facts and personal experiences. Implicit memories are things we remember unconsciously, like how to ride a bike or tie our shoes. Memory is not like a video recording that perfectly captures events. Instead, it is reconstructive. Each time we remember something, we rebuild the memory from scattered pieces of information stored throughout the brain. This process can introduce errors, and memories can change over time. Details can be forgotten, altered, or even added based on later experiences or suggestions from others. Emotions strongly influence memory formation and recall. Emotionally significant events often create stronger, more lasting memories. Stress hormones released during intense experiences help cement those memories in our brains. This is why we often remember exactly where we were during important or traumatic events, but forget countless ordinary moments from the same time periods. Déjà vu. Déjà vu means the strange feeling that you have experienced the exact same situation before, even though you know logically that this is impossible. The French phrase literally means, already seen. During a déjà vu experience, everything feels eerily familiar. The conversation, the setting, the people present, even your own thoughts and reactions seem like perfect replays of some previous moment. This phenomenon occurs in most people at some point in their lives. It typically lasts only a few seconds and leaves behind a sense of mystery and mild confusion. You might be sitting in a restaurant with friends when suddenly everything feels like it has happened before in precisely the same way. The feeling is so strong that you almost expect to know what will happen next, yet you cannot quite grasp when or where the original experience occurred. Scientists have proposed several theories to explain déjà vu. One possibility is that it represents a brief malfunction in the brain's memory systems. Perhaps information from the present moment accidentally gets processed as a memory before being experienced as a current event. This could create the illusion that something new is actually something remembered. Another theory suggests déjà vu occurs when there is a slight delay between information reaching different parts of the brain. If one hemisphere processes a scene a split second before the other, the delayed processing might be interpreted as a memory of the same event. This would explain why the situation feels both familiar and current at the same time. Déjà vu happens more frequently in younger people and tends to decrease with age. It also occurs more often when people are tired or stressed. Some individuals with certain types of epilepsy experience déjà vu as part of their seizures, which has helped researchers study the brain mechanisms that might be involved. Despite ongoing research, déjà vu remains somewhat mysterious, reminding us that consciousness and memory are more complex and fragile than we might assume. Flow state. Flow state means the experience of being completely absorbed in an activity to the point where everything else fades away. Time seems to stop or speed up. Self-consciousness disappears. You become one with whatever you are doing, whether that is playing music, writing, solving problems, or competing in sports. This state of total engagement feels effortless despite often involving challenging tasks. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi first described flow after studying people who seem to lose themselves in their work or hobbies. He found that flow occurs when several conditions align perfectly. The activity must have clear goals and immediate feedback. The challenge level must match your skill level precisely. Too easy and you become bored. Too difficult and you become anxious. In the sweet spot between boredom and anxiety lies flow. During flow states, the brain operates differently than usual. The prefrontal cortex, which handles self-criticism and conscious control, becomes less active. This process, called transient hypofrontality, allows other brain networks to take over. Areas responsible for pattern recognition and automatic responses become more dominant. This explains why flow activities feel both effortless and highly skilled. Flow states produce intrinsic motivation, meaning the activity itself provides all the reward you need. External motivations like money, praise, or avoiding punishment become irrelevant. You continue because the experience itself feels deeply satisfying. This is why people often lose track of hunger, thirst, or fatigue while in flow. Regular flow experiences contribute significantly to happiness and life satisfaction. People who find flow in their work report higher job satisfaction and better performance. Those who cultivate flow through hobbies, sports, or creative pursuits often experience reduced stress and increased well-being. Learning to recognize and create conditions for flow can enhance both productivity and personal fulfillment. Consciousness. Consciousness is perhaps the most fundamental mystery of human existence. It refers to our subjective, first-person experience of being aware. The redness of red, the pain of a headache, the joy of laughter, the sense of being yourself looking out at the world through your own eyes. Consciousness is what makes you, you, rather than just a complex biological machine processing information. Every moment of waking life involves consciousness, yet defining it precisely proves remarkably difficult. Consciousness includes awareness of your surroundings, your thoughts and feelings, your memories and plans. It also involves the mysterious sense of being a unified self that persists through time despite constant changes in your body and mind. Scientists study consciousness by examining brain activity during different states of awareness. When we are awake and alert, certain patterns of neural activity occur throughout the brain. During sleep, anesthesia, or coma, these patterns change dramatically or disappear entirely. But simply observing brain activity does not explain why subjective experience exists at all or how physical processes create the felt sense of being conscious. Consciousness appears to emerge from the complex interactions of billions of neurons working together. No single brain area generates consciousness alone. Instead, it seems to arise from the integration of information across multiple brain networks. This integration creates a unified experience from the many separate processes happening simultaneously in different parts of the brain. Different theories attempt to explain how consciousness works. Some propose that consciousness requires a certain level of information integration. Others suggest it emerges from specific patterns of neural activity. Still others argue that consciousness might be a fundamental feature of reality rather than something produced by brains. The mystery of consciousness touches on deep questions about the nature of reality, identity, and what it means to be human in a universe of matter and energy. Inner voice. The inner voice is the stream of words and thoughts that runs through your mind throughout much of your waking life. It is the mental narrator that comments on events, rehearses conversations, makes plans, and engages in silent self-talk. This internal monologue feels like hearing your own voice speaking inside your head, though no actual sound is produced. Most people experience inner speech as a constant companion. Your inner voice might remind you of tasks to complete, work through problems by talking yourself through the steps, or replay conversations from earlier in the day. It often uses the same language patterns and vocabulary that you use when speaking aloud, complete with your personal speaking style and inflections. Neuroscience research suggests that inner speech activates many of the same brain areas involved in actual speech production and comprehension. When you think words silently, your brain sends subtle signals to the muscles involved in speaking, though not strong enough to produce audible sound. This is why thinking can sometimes feel like physical effort, especially when wrestling with complex ideas. The inner voice serves several important functions. It helps with working memory by allowing you to rehearse information internally. It aids in planning and problem solving by letting you talk through options and consequences. It also plays a role in self-regulation, helping you control emotions and behavior through internal dialogue. Interestingly, not everyone experiences inner speech in the same way. Some people report very little internal monologue, experiencing thoughts more as images, feelings, or abstract concepts. Others have multiple inner voices or engage in elaborate internal conversations. Cultural background also influences inner speech, as people think in whatever languages they know fluently. The inner voice can sometimes become problematic when it becomes overly critical or repetitive. Learning to notice and guide internal dialogue is an important skill for mental health and personal development. Self-awareness. Self-awareness means the ability to recognize yourself as a distinct individual separate from other people and the environment around you. It involves understanding your own thoughts, feelings, motivations, and behaviors while also recognizing how others perceive you. This capacity to observe and reflect on your own mental and emotional states is uniquely human among Earth's creatures. Self-awareness develops gradually during childhood. Very young children do not distinguish clearly between themselves and the world around them. Around 18 to 24 months, most children begin to recognize themselves in mirrors and start using words like me and mine. By school age, children can describe their own personalities and compare themselves to others. Full self-awareness continues developing throughout adolescence and into adulthood. There are different levels and types of self-awareness. Basic self-awareness involves recognizing your current emotional state and immediate thoughts. Deeper self-awareness includes understanding your patterns of behavior, your core values and beliefs, and your impact on others. It also involves recognizing when your perceptions might be biased or incomplete. Self-awareness serves many important functions. It allows you to monitor and regulate your emotions and behaviors. It helps you make decisions that align with your values and long-term goals. It enables empathy by helping you understand that others have different perspectives and experiences from your own. It also supports learning and personal growth by helping you recognize areas where you might want to change or improve. However, self-awareness can sometimes create problems. Excessive self-focus can lead to anxiety, depression, or narcissism. The ability to imagine how others judge you can create social anxiety and self-consciousness. Some situations require less self-awareness and more spontaneous action. Developing healthy self-awareness involves learning to observe yourself with curiosity and compassion rather than harsh judgment. It means accepting both your strengths and limitations while remaining open to growth and change. Procrastination. Procrastination means deliberately delaying or avoiding tasks that need to be completed, often replacing them with less important but more immediately pleasant activities. Almost everyone procrastinates sometimes, but for some people it becomes a chronic pattern that interferes with their goals and creates significant stress and guilt. At its core, procrastination is not about poor time management or laziness. It is actually an emotion regulation strategy, though not a very effective one. When faced with a task that triggers negative emotions like anxiety, boredom, frustration, or fear of failure, procrastination provides temporary relief by avoiding those uncomfortable feelings. The problem is that this avoidance usually makes the negative emotions stronger over time. The brain systems involved in procrastination include areas responsible for executive function, emotional regulation, and reward processing. When we procrastinate, the limbic system, which seeks immediate pleasure and avoids discomfort, overrides the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for planning and self-control. This is why procrastination often involves choosing immediately rewarding activities like social media, games, or snacks instead of working on important but challenging tasks. Several factors make procrastination more likely. Tasks that seem overwhelming, unclear, or unpleasant trigger avoidance. Perfectionism can lead to procrastination because the fear of not doing something perfectly makes it feel safer not to start at all. Poor self-esteem and fear of judgment can also contribute by making potential failure feel too risky to attempt. Overcoming procrastination requires addressing both the emotional and practical aspects. Breaking large tasks into smaller, manageable steps reduces overwhelm. Setting specific implementation intentions, like, I will work on my report for 25 minutes after lunch, helps bridge the gap between intention and action. Self-compassion, rather than harsh self-criticism, makes it easier to start again after procrastinating. Understanding that procrastination is primarily about managing difficult emotions, rather than character flaws, can help people develop more effective strategies for getting things done. Butterflies in stomach. Butterflies in stomach describes the fluttery, nervous sensation you feel in your abdomen when you are excited, anxious, or anticipating something important. This physical feeling often accompanies emotions like nervousness before a big presentation, excitement before a first date, or anxiety before taking a test. The sensation really does feel like tiny creatures moving around inside your belly. This phenomenon results from the close connection between your brain and your digestive system, often called the gut-brain axis. When you experience strong emotions, your brain sends signals through the vagus nerve to your stomach and intestines. These signals can slow down or speed up digestion, change the production of stomach acid, and alter the normal contractions that move food through your digestive tract. The butterfly's sensation specifically comes from changes in blood flow and muscle contractions in your stomach area. When you feel nervous or excited, your body activates the sympathetic nervous system as part of the fight-or-flight response. This causes blood to be redirected away from your digestive organs toward your muscles and brain, where it might be needed for quick action. The reduced blood flow and altered nerve activity in your stomach creates that distinctive fluttery feeling. Your stomach also contains millions of nerve cells that form what scientists call the enteric nervous system or second brain. This network can operate independently from your main brain and is heavily influenced by emotions and stress. When you are nervous, these gut neurons become more active and can create unusual sensations and contractions that feel like movement in your belly. The butterfly's sensation is completely normal and usually harmless. It shows how deeply connected your emotions are to your physical body. Some people experience butterflies more intensely than others, and the sensation can range from barely noticeable to quite uncomfortable. Learning relaxation techniques like deep breathing can help calm both your mind and your stomach when butterflies become overwhelming. Money. Money is a system of tokens that represents value and allows people to trade goods and services without having to barter directly. Instead of exchanging chickens for shoes or trading hours of work for bags of grain, money provides a common measure that everyone agrees represents worth. This simple concept has become one of the most powerful forces shaping human civilization. At its most basic level, money serves three essential functions. First, it acts as a medium of exchange, making trade much easier than bartering. Second, it provides a unit of account, giving us a standard way to measure and compare the value of different things. Third, it serves as a store of value, allowing people to save purchasing power for future use. Throughout history, many different objects have served as money. Shells, beads, salt, cattle, and precious metals have all functioned as currency in various cultures. The key requirement is that everyone in a community must agree that the chosen item has value and can be exchanged for goods and services. This agreement is largely based on trust and social convention rather than the inherent properties of the money itself. Modern money exists primarily as numbers in computer systems rather than physical coins and bills. When you check your bank balance or make a credit card purchase, you are interacting with digital representations of value. Most money today is created by banks when they make loans, and it exists only as electronic records until someone withdraws cash. Money profoundly affects human behavior and social relationships. It enables complex economic systems, allows for specialization and trade across great distances, and provides a way to accumulate and transfer wealth across generations. However, money can also create inequality, stress, and conflicts over resources. Understanding how money works helps people make better financial decisions and navigate the modern economic world. Algorithm. An algorithm is a precise set of instructions that tells a computer exactly how to solve a problem or complete a task. Think of it like a detailed recipe that breaks down every single step needed to achieve a specific result. Just as a cooking recipe tells you which ingredients to add in what order and how long to cook them, an algorithm tells a computer which operations to perform and in what sequence. Algorithms exist all around us in the digital world, though they usually remain invisible. When you search for something online, an algorithm decides which results to show you and in what order. When you scroll through social media, algorithms choose which posts appear in your feed based on your past behavior and preferences. When you use GPS navigation, algorithms calculate the fastest route to your destination by analyzing traffic patterns and road conditions. The power of algorithms lies in their ability to process vast amounts of information quickly and consistently. A human might take hours to compare hundreds of different route options, but a computer algorithm can evaluate thousands of possibilities in seconds and identify the optimal choice. This speed and accuracy make algorithms essential for managing the complexity of modern digital systems. However, algorithms are only as good as the instructions they receive and the data they work with. If an algorithm contains errors or biases, it will produce flawed results every time it runs. If the data used to train an algorithm reflects historical inequalities or incomplete information, the algorithm will perpetuate those problems in its decisions. Different types of algorithms serve different purposes. Some algorithms sort information into categories. Others search through databases to find specific items. Machine learning algorithms can even modify themselves based on experience, getting better at their tasks over time. Understanding algorithms helps us appreciate both the incredible capabilities and the potential limitations of the digital tools that increasingly shape our daily lives. Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is the technology that allows your devices to connect to the internet without physical cables. The name originally stood for wireless fidelity, though most people now simply call it Wi-Fi. This invisible network uses radio waves to transmit data between your phone, laptop, or tablet and a router that connects to the broader internet infrastructure. Wi-Fi works by converting digital information into radio signals that travel through the air at specific frequencies. Your router acts like a radio station, broadcasting these signals in all directions within a certain range, typically covering a house or building. Your device has a Wi-Fi antenna that receives these radio signals and converts them back into digital data that your apps and programs can use. The radio frequencies used for Wi-Fi are the same type of electromagnetic waves that carry AM and FM radio, television broadcasts, and cell phone calls. Wi-Fi typically operates at 2.4 GHz or 5 GHz frequencies, which are much higher than traditional radio and allow for faster data transmission. These frequencies can carry much more information but have shorter range and are more easily blocked by walls and obstacles. When you connect to a Wi-Fi network, your device and the router establish a two-way communication channel. They continuously exchange small packets of data, with each packet containing a portion of whatever information you are sending or receiving. If some packets get lost or corrupted during transmission, the system automatically requests new copies to ensure complete and accurate data transfer. Wi-Fi networks are usually secured with passwords and encryption to prevent unauthorized access and protect your private information. When you enter a Wi-Fi password, you are providing the key that allows your device to decrypt the radio signals and join the secure network. This encryption scrambles the data during transmission so that anyone intercepting the radio signals cannot easily understand the information being sent. Fiber optics. Fiber optics means using thin strands of glass or plastic to transmit information as pulses of light rather than electrical signals through metal wires. These optical fibers are incredibly thin, often narrower than a human hair, yet they can carry enormous amounts of data across vast distances at nearly the speed of light. This technology forms the backbone of modern internet infrastructure and high-speed communications. The basic principle behind fiber optics relies on a phenomenon called total internal reflection. Each optical fiber consists of a glass core surrounded by a layer of glass with different optical properties called cladding. When light enters the fiber core, it bounces back and forth between the core and cladding boundary, traveling down the length of the fiber without escaping. This allows light signals to travel around bends and curves while maintaining their strength and clarity. Information travels through fiber optic cables as rapid pulses of light that represent digital data. A laser or LED at one end of the fiber turns on and off millions or billions of times per second, creating light pulses that correspond to the ones and zeros of binary computer code. At the receiving end, a photodetector converts these light pulses back into electrical signals that computers and other devices can process. Fiber optic cables offer several major advantages over traditional copper wires. They can carry much more information because light can be pulsed at extremely high frequencies. They are not affected by electromagnetic interference from other electrical devices. They can transmit signals over much longer distances without losing strength or quality. They are also more secure because the light signals do not leak out of the cable and cannot be easily intercepted. Fiber optics has revolutionized global communications by enabling high-speed internet, crystal-clear long-distance phone calls, and instant international data transfer. Most internet traffic between cities and countries now travels through networks of fiber optic cables buried underground or laid along ocean floors. Self-driving. Self-driving means vehicles that can navigate roads and traffic without human drivers controlling them. These autonomous cars use a combination of sensors, cameras, computer processing power, and artificial intelligence to perceive their surroundings, make decisions, and control steering, acceleration, and braking. The goal is to create transportation that is safer, more efficient, and accessible to people who cannot drive traditional vehicles. Self-driving cars rely on multiple types of sensors working together to build a complete picture of their environment. Cameras capture visual information like traffic lights, road signs, lane markings, and the position of other vehicles and pedestrians. Radar sensors detect objects and measure their distance and speed, working well in poor weather conditions when cameras might struggle. LiDAR sensors use laser light to create detailed three-dimensional maps of everything around the vehicle. All this sensor information feeds into powerful computers that run sophisticated software algorithms. These systems must identify and classify everything the sensors detect, predict how other vehicles and pedestrians will behave, plan safe routes through traffic, and control the car's mechanical systems. The software must make thousands of decisions every second while traveling at highway speeds. Different levels of automation exist in self-driving technology. Some cars offer driver assistance features like automatic emergency braking or lane-keeping assistance but still require human oversight. Fully autonomous vehicles would need no human intervention at all and could operate without steering wheels or pedals. Most current self-driving cars fall somewhere between these extremes. The biggest challenges for self-driving vehicles involve handling unexpected situations that human drivers navigate instinctively. Construction zones with unusual traffic patterns, emergency vehicles requiring right-of-way, or objects in the road all present complex scenarios that require sophisticated decision-making. Self-driving cars must also operate safely alongside human drivers whose behavior can be unpredictable. Despite these challenges, self-driving technology continues advancing rapidly, with the potential to dramatically reduce traffic accidents, improve mobility for disabled individuals, and reshape how people think about transportation and urban planning. Curiosity. Curiosity is the driving force that makes us want to explore, learn, and understand the world around us. It creates that irresistible urge to peek behind closed doors, ask, what-if, questions, and investigate things we do not yet understand. This fundamental human trait has powered every major discovery and invention throughout history, from fire and the wheel to space exploration and the internet. At its core, curiosity emerges from a gap between what we know and what we want to know. When we encounter something unfamiliar or surprising, our brains create a kind of mental itch that can only be scratched by gaining new information. This information-seeking drive is so strong that research shows people will sometimes choose to receive electric shocks just to satisfy their curiosity about what the shock feels like. Neuroscience reveals that curiosity activates the brain's reward system in the same way that food, sex, and other pleasurable experiences do. When we feel curious about something, dopamine levels increase in anticipation of learning. When we finally discover the answer, we experience a genuine neurochemical reward that makes learning feel good. This is why satisfying curiosity can become genuinely addictive. Different types of curiosity serve different purposes. Perceptual curiosity makes us notice and investigate sensory experiences. Epistemic curiosity drives us to seek knowledge and understanding. Social curiosity motivates us to learn about other people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. Each type uses similar brain mechanisms but focuses on different aspects of our environment. Curiosity benefits us in numerous ways beyond just acquiring new information. It enhances memory because we remember things better when we are curious about them. It improves problem solving by encouraging us to explore multiple possibilities. It increases creativity by exposing us to diverse ideas and experiences. It also builds resilience by helping us view challenges as interesting puzzles rather than threatening obstacles. Cultivating curiosity throughout life keeps our minds flexible and engaged, making us better learners, more innovative thinkers, and more interesting companions. Focus. Focus means the ability to direct your attention deliberately toward a specific task, thought, or experience while filtering out distractions. It is like having a mental spotlight that illuminates what matters most while dimming everything else in your awareness. This capacity for sustained, concentrated attention forms the foundation for learning, creativity, productivity, and deep meaningful experiences. The brain networks responsible for focus include areas that control attention, working memory, and cognitive control. When you focus effectively, these regions work together to maintain your chosen target of attention while suppressing irrelevant information. This process requires significant mental energy, which explains why prolonged concentration feels effortful and can lead to mental fatigue. Modern life presents unprecedented challenges to maintaining focus. Digital devices constantly compete for our attention with notifications, alerts, and infinite streams of new content. Our brains evolved to notice changes and potential threats in our environment, making it natural to be distracted by sounds, movements, and novel stimuli. The result is that many people struggle with what researchers call continuous partial attention, where we split our focus across multiple tasks without fully engaging with any of them. Different types of focus serve different purposes. Focused attention allows you to concentrate on specific tasks like reading or problem solving. Open monitoring involves maintaining relaxed awareness of your surroundings without fixating on any particular element. Meta-attention means monitoring the quality of your own attention and noticing when your mind wanders. Developing stronger focus requires both understanding how attention works and practicing specific techniques. Single tasking, meditation, regular breaks, and minimizing distractions all help improve concentration. Physical factors like adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and regular exercise also significantly impact your ability to focus. Strong focus skills enable deeper learning, better relationships, increased productivity, and greater life satisfaction. In an increasingly distracted world, the ability to focus deeply has become both more challenging and more valuable than ever before. Creativity. Creativity is the ability to generate original ideas, solutions, or expressions that are both novel and useful. It involves combining existing knowledge, experiences, and concepts in new ways to produce something that did not exist before. Creativity appears in everything from artistic masterpieces and scientific breakthroughs to everyday problem-solving and innovative approaches to daily challenges. The creative process typically involves several stages that can occur in any order and often repeat cyclically. Preparation involves gathering information and immersing yourself in the relevant domain. Incubation occurs when you step away from actively working on the problem, allowing unconscious mental processes to make new connections. Illumination is the moment when a new idea suddenly emerges, often feeling like it comes from nowhere. Evaluation involves refining and testing the idea to determine its value and feasibility. Neuroscience research shows that creativity involves complex interactions between different brain networks. The default mode network, which is active during rest and daydreaming, helps generate novel associations and ideas. The executive attention network evaluates and refines these ideas. The salience network switches between these modes and determines which ideas deserve further attention. Creative people often show greater connectivity and flexibility between these networks. Creativity flourishes under certain conditions and can be stifled by others. Psychological safety, where you feel free to take risks without fear of judgment, encourages creative expression. Intrinsic motivation, doing something because it is inherently satisfying, typically produces more creative outcomes than external rewards or pressure. Time for reflection and play also supports creative thinking by allowing ideas to develop naturally. Common misconceptions about creativity include the belief that it is a rare gift possessed by only a few special people. In reality, everyone has creative potential that can be developed through practice and the right environment. Creativity also does not require complete originality from nothing, as most creative work builds upon and recombines existing ideas in meaningful ways. Overthinking. Overthinking means getting stuck in repetitive, excessive mental analysis that goes far beyond what is helpful for solving problems or making decisions. It involves churning thoughts around and around without reaching resolution, often focusing on negative possibilities, past mistakes, or uncertain futures. This mental habit can trap people in cycles of worry and rumination that increase stress and anxiety while actually making problems harder to solve. The overthinking mind tends to operate in several characteristic patterns. Catastrophic thinking involves imagining worst-case scenarios and treating them as likely outcomes. All-or-nothing thinking sees situations in extreme terms without recognizing middle ground or nuance. Mind reading assumes you know what others are thinking, usually imagining negative judgments. Fortune-telling involves predicting negative future events as if they are certain to happen. Overthinking often stems from underlying anxiety, perfectionism, or lack of confidence in decision-making abilities. When people feel uncertain or threatened, the mind tries to regain control by analyzing every possible angle of a situation. Unfortunately, this mental effort often creates more anxiety rather than providing the security and clarity it seeks. The more you think about problems without taking action, the larger and more overwhelming they tend to become. Brain research shows that overthinking activates the same neural pathways repeatedly, strengthening these mental grooves and making it harder to break free from repetitive thought patterns. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and decision-making, can become overwhelmed by the constant mental activity, leading to decision paralysis and reduced problem-solving ability. Breaking free from overthinking requires recognizing when you are stuck in unproductive mental loops and redirecting your attention toward more helpful activities. Setting specific time limits for decision-making, engaging in physical activity, practicing mindfulness, and focusing on what you can control rather than what you cannot all help interrupt overthinking cycles. Learning to distinguish between helpful problem-solving and unproductive rumination allows you to use your analytical abilities effectively without getting trapped in mental quicksand. Rumination. Rumination means repeatedly focusing on distressing thoughts, feelings, or experiences without making progress toward understanding or resolving them. Unlike productive reflection that leads to insights or solutions, rumination involves going over the same concerns again and again, often becoming more upset rather than finding relief. This mental pattern is like being stuck on a hamster wheel of thoughts that spin endlessly without leading anywhere. Rumination typically centers on three main themes. Past-focused rumination involves replaying negative events, mistakes, or embarrassing moments while wondering what you could have done differently. Present-focused rumination gets caught up in current problems, analyzing them from every angle without taking constructive action. Future-focused rumination worries about potential problems and imagines various negative scenarios that might unfold. This thinking pattern often begins as an attempt to understand or solve problems, which makes it particularly insidious. The mind tricks itself into believing that more analysis will lead to better outcomes, but rumination actually impairs problem-solving abilities by narrowing attention and increasing emotional distress. People who ruminate frequently often report feeling mentally exhausted yet unable to stop the repetitive thoughts. Rumination strongly correlates with depression and anxiety disorders. It tends to amplify negative emotions, making problems seem more severe and hopeless than they actually are. The repetitive focus on distressing thoughts reinforces neural pathways associated with negative thinking, making it easier to fall into ruminative patterns in the future. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle where rumination increases distress, which then triggers more rumination. Breaking free from rumination requires recognizing the difference between productive problem-solving and unproductive mental spinning. Productive thinking is goal-oriented, time-limited, and leads to concrete next steps. Rumination is repetitive, emotionally charged, and creates no forward movement. Techniques like scheduled worry time, physical exercise, mindfulness practice, and cognitive restructuring can help interrupt ruminative cycles. Learning to notice rumination when it begins and redirecting mental energy toward constructive activities or self-care can significantly improve emotional well-being and mental clarity. Confidence. Confidence is the belief in your own abilities, judgment, and worth that allows you to take action despite uncertainty or potential failure. It creates a sense of self-assurance that helps you navigate challenges, pursue goals, and interact with others from a position of inner strength. True confidence is not about being perfect or never experiencing doubt, but about trusting yourself to handle whatever situations arise. Confidence emerges from a combination of past experiences, self-knowledge, and realistic assessment of your capabilities. Each time you successfully handle a challenge, you build evidence that you can cope with difficulties. This creates a positive feedback loop where confidence leads to more willingness to take on challenges, which builds more competence, which increases confidence further. There are different types of confidence that serve different purposes. Self-efficacy is confidence in your ability to perform specific tasks or achieve particular goals. Social confidence involves feeling comfortable in social situations and believing others will respond to you positively. Emotional confidence means trusting your ability to handle difficult feelings without being overwhelmed by them. Physical confidence relates to comfort with your body and physical capabilities. Confidence differs significantly from arrogance or overconfidence. True confidence is based on realistic self-assessment and includes awareness of both strengths and limitations. Confident people can acknowledge mistakes, ask for help when needed, and continue learning and growing. Arrogance, by contrast, involves inflated self-perception and resistance to feedback or new information. Building healthy confidence requires taking on appropriate challenges that stretch your abilities without overwhelming them. Success in small, manageable tasks creates momentum for tackling larger goals. Learning new skills, setting and achieving realistic goals, and surrounding yourself with supportive people all contribute to growing confidence over time. Confidence also involves developing a compassionate inner voice that encourages rather than criticizes your efforts. This means treating yourself with the same kindness you would show a good friend facing similar challenges. Willpower. Willpower is the mental strength that allows you to resist immediate temptations and impulses in order to achieve longer-term goals. It enables you to do things you do not want to do and avoid things you are tempted to do when these actions conflict with your better judgment. This capacity for self-control forms the foundation for personal discipline, habit formation, and the ability to pursue meaningful goals despite obstacles. Willpower operates through the prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive functions like planning, decision-making, and impulse control. When you exercise willpower, this area works to override more primitive brain systems that seek immediate gratification. Brain imaging studies show that people with stronger willpower have greater activity in the prefrontal cortex and better communication between this region and areas that process emotions and desires. Research suggests that willpower functions somewhat like a muscle that can become temporarily depleted through use but can also be strengthened through practice. After exerting significant self-control, people often experience reduced capacity for further self-control until they rest and recover. This phenomenon, called ego depletion, explains why it becomes harder to resist temptations when you are already mentally fatigued. However, willpower alone is not sufficient for achieving long-term behavioral change. Relying exclusively on self-control often leads to eventual failure because it requires constant mental effort and vigilance. More effective approaches combine willpower with environmental design, habit formation, and systems that make good choices easier and bad choices harder. Different strategies can help preserve and strengthen willpower. Getting adequate sleep, maintaining stable blood sugar levels, and managing stress all support self-control capacity. Breaking large goals into smaller, manageable steps reduces the willpower required for each individual action. Creating clear implementation intentions, such as, when situation X occurs, I will do behavior Y, helps automate good choices and reduces reliance on in-the-moment decision-making. Understanding willpower as a valuable but limited resource encourages more strategic approaches to self-improvement and goal achievement. Empathy. Empathy means the ability to understand and share the feelings of others by imagining yourself in their situation. It allows you to recognize emotions in other people and respond with appropriate care and concern. This fundamental human capacity forms the basis for compassion, cooperation, and meaningful social connections. Empathy helps us navigate complex social relationships and contributes to moral behavior and altruism. There are different types of empathy that involve distinct mental processes. Cognitive empathy is the ability to understand what someone else is thinking and feeling from an intellectual perspective. You can recognize their emotional state and understand why they feel that way without necessarily experiencing the same emotions yourself. Emotional empathy involves actually feeling similar emotions to what the other person is experiencing, as if their emotions are contagious. Compassionate empathy combines understanding with motivation to help. This type involves recognizing someone else's distress, feeling moved by their situation, and being motivated to provide support or assistance. Research shows that compassionate empathy is most beneficial for both the empathizer and the person receiving empathy because it leads to helpful action without overwhelming emotional absorption. Mirror neurons in the brain may play a role in empathetic responses. These specialized cells fire both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. This neural mirroring might help explain how we automatically understand and resonate with others' experiences and expressions. Empathy can be both a strength and a potential vulnerability. High levels of emotional empathy can lead to empathic distress, where you become so overwhelmed by others' emotions that you cannot function effectively. Healthcare workers, therapists, and others in caring professions often need to develop strategies for maintaining empathetic connection while protecting their own emotional well-being. Empathy can be developed and strengthened through practice. Actively listening to others, reading fiction that explores different perspectives, and consciously trying to understand viewpoints different from your own all help build empathetic abilities. Cultural exposure and diverse relationships also expand your capacity to understand and connect with people from different backgrounds. Anxiety. Anxiety is your body's natural alarm system that activates when your brain perceives potential danger or threat. It creates a cascade of physical and mental changes designed to help you respond quickly to risky situations. Your heart races, your muscles tense, your breathing quickens, and your mind becomes hyperalert to scan for problems. While this response can be life-saving in genuinely dangerous moments, it becomes problematic when it activates too frequently or intensely in safe situations. Normal anxiety serves important protective functions. It motivates you to prepare for important events, avoid genuinely risky situations, and pay attention to potential problems that need addressing. The anxiety you feel before a job interview or medical appointment helps ensure you take these situations seriously and prepare appropriately. This type of anxiety usually subsides once the situation passes. Problematic anxiety occurs when the alarm system becomes oversensitive or gets stuck in the on position. This can happen when your brain misinterprets safe situations as dangerous, leading to anxiety responses that feel disproportionate to the actual threat level. Chronic anxiety can interfere with daily activities, relationships, and overall quality of life. The physical symptoms of anxiety result from activation of your sympathetic nervous system. Stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol flood your bloodstream, preparing your body for action. This explains why anxiety often includes symptoms like rapid heartbeat, sweating, trembling, shortness of breath, and stomach upset. These sensations can feel frightening, sometimes creating a cycle where anxiety about anxiety symptoms makes the overall experience worse. Different people experience anxiety in different ways. Some feel it primarily as physical sensations in their bodies. Others experience it mainly as racing thoughts, worst-case scenario thinking, or excessive worry about future events. Many people experience a combination of physical and mental symptoms that can vary depending on the situation and their current stress levels. Understanding anxiety as a normal human response that sometimes becomes overactive helps reduce shame and self-criticism while encouraging appropriate help seeking when anxiety becomes overwhelming or interferes with important life activities. Dopamine. Dopamine is a powerful brain chemical that plays a crucial role in motivation, reward, and the pursuit of goals. Often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, dopamine is more accurately described as the wanting chemical that drives you to seek out potentially rewarding experiences. It creates the sense of anticipation and motivation that keeps you moving toward things that might benefit you. Contrary to popular belief, dopamine is not primarily released when you experience pleasure. Instead, it surges when you anticipate something good might happen. This explains why the excitement of planning a vacation often feels more intense than the actual vacation itself, or why the anticipation before opening a gift can be more thrilling than receiving the gift. Dopamine motivates the pursuit rather than the achievement. The dopamine system evolved to help our ancestors survive by encouraging behaviors that promoted survival and reproduction. Finding food, securing shelter, forming social bonds, and other survival-related activities all trigger dopamine release. In modern life, this same system responds to things like social media notifications, shopping, gambling, and other activities that promise potential rewards. Dopamine pathways in the brain connect areas involved in movement, emotion, motivation, and executive function. When these pathways function properly, you feel motivated to pursue goals, experience pleasure in achievements, and maintain normal movement patterns. Problems with dopamine signaling contribute to conditions like depression, addiction, Parkinson's disease, and attention deficit disorders. Modern technology exploits the dopamine system in ways that can become problematic. Social media platforms, video games, and other digital experiences are designed to provide unpredictable rewards that trigger dopamine release and keep users engaged. This can lead to compulsive use patterns that interfere with other important life activities. Understanding how dopamine works helps explain human motivation and can inform healthier approaches to goal setting, habit formation, and technology use. Balancing immediate gratification with long-term satisfaction becomes easier when you understand the brain chemistry underlying these experiences. Serotonin. Serotonin is a brain chemical that significantly influences mood, sleep, appetite, digestion, and social behavior. Often referred to as the happiness chemical, serotonin plays a more complex role in mental health and overall well-being than this simple description suggests. It helps regulate emotional stability, promotes feelings of contentment and social connection, and supports many essential bodily functions. About 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in your digestive system rather than your brain. This gut-based serotonin helps control digestion, appetite, and communication between your stomach and brain. The remaining 10% operates in your brain, where it influences mood, sleep patterns, pain perception, and social behavior. This distribution explains the strong connection between digestive health and mental well-being. Adequate serotonin levels are associated with stable mood, healthy sleep patterns, and positive social interactions. People with sufficient serotonin typically feel calmer, more optimistic, and better able to cope with stress. They tend to sleep more soundly, have healthier appetites, and experience less anxiety in social situations. Serotonin also plays a role in impulse control and decision-making. Low serotonin levels can contribute to depression, anxiety, sleep disturbances, and digestive problems. However, the relationship between serotonin and mental health is complex. While many antidepressant medications work by increasing serotonin availability in the brain, depression involves multiple brain chemicals and cannot be explained by serotonin deficiency alone. Several lifestyle factors can support healthy serotonin production. Regular exercise, especially activities that involve rhythmic movement, can boost serotonin levels. Exposure to bright light, particularly sunlight, also helps. Eating foods rich in tryptophan, an amino acid that the body uses to make serotonin, may provide some benefit. Social connections and positive relationships also appear to support healthy serotonin function. Understanding serotonin's role in both mental and physical health highlights the importance of addressing overall lifestyle factors rather than focusing solely on brain chemistry when working to improve mood and well-being. DNA. DNA is the instruction manual for life contained within virtually every cell in your body. These molecular blueprints determine everything from your eye color and height to your risk for certain diseases and how your body processes different medications. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid, but thinking of it as a biological recipe book makes it easier to understand how this remarkable molecule works. The structure of DNA resembles a twisted ladder called a double helix. The rungs of this ladder consist of 4 chemical bases that pair together in specific combinations. These bases, represented by the letters A, T, G, and C, form a code that contains all the information needed to build and maintain a living organism. The sequence of these letters determines what instructions are being given to the cell. Every human has approximately 3 billion base pairs in their DNA, yet humans share about 99.9% of their genetic code with each other. The small differences in that remaining 0.1% account for all the variation we see between individuals. You inherit half of your DNA from each parent, which explains why children often resemble their parents and siblings share similar traits. DNA contains genes, which are specific sequences that provide instructions for making proteins. Proteins do most of the actual work in your cells, functioning as enzymes, structural components, and signaling molecules. When a cell needs to make a particular protein, it reads the relevant section of DNA and uses that information to assemble the protein according to the genetic instructions. Your DNA remains largely the same throughout your life, but environmental factors can influence how genes are expressed. This field, called epigenetics, shows that lifestyle choices, stress levels, diet, and other factors can turn genes on or off without changing the underlying DNA sequence. This means you have some influence over how your genetic potential is realized. Understanding DNA helps explain inheritance patterns, personalized medicine approaches, and the fundamental unity of all life on Earth. Hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers that travel through your bloodstream to coordinate activities throughout your body. These powerful molecules are produced by various glands and organs, then released into your circulation to deliver specific instructions to target tissues and organs. Think of hormones as the body's internal communication system that helps different parts work together harmoniously. Different hormones serve different functions in maintaining your health and well-being. Insulin regulates blood sugar levels by instructing cells to absorb glucose from the bloodstream. Growth hormone promotes tissue repair and development. Thyroid hormones control your metabolic rate, affecting how quickly your body burns energy. Stress hormones like cortisol help you respond to challenging situations by mobilizing energy and heightening alertness. Reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone influence sexual development, fertility, and many aspects of physical and emotional health. These hormones fluctuate in predictable patterns throughout life, creating changes during puberty, monthly cycles, pregnancy, and aging. Understanding these natural fluctuations helps explain many of the physical and emotional changes people experience. The endocrine system that produces hormones operates through complex feedback loops. When hormone levels get too high or too low, the body responds by adjusting production to restore balance. This process, called homeostasis, keeps your internal environment stable despite changes in your external circumstances and daily activities. Hormone imbalances can significantly impact how you feel and function. Too much or too little of certain hormones can affect energy levels, mood, sleep patterns, weight, and cognitive function. Factors like stress, diet, exercise, sleep quality, and aging all influence hormone production and balance. Modern lifestyle factors can disrupt natural hormone patterns. Chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, potentially interfering with other hormones. Inadequate sleep affects growth hormone and hunger-regulating hormones. Environmental toxins can mimic or block natural hormones, creating confusion in the body's communication systems. Understanding hormones helps explain many aspects of health and behavior while highlighting the importance of lifestyle factors in maintaining hormonal balance. Rainbows. Rainbows are beautiful arcs of color that appear in the sky when sunlight and water droplets interact in just the right way. These stunning displays of natural physics occur when sunlight enters millions of tiny water droplets suspended in the air, gets separated into its component colors, and reflects back to your eyes. Each rainbow is actually a complete circle, though we usually see only the arc portion above the horizon. The science behind rainbows involves the behavior of light as it passes through water. Sunlight appears white to our eyes, but it actually contains all the colors of the visible spectrum mixed together. When light enters a water droplet, it slows down and bends, a process called refraction. Different colors bend at slightly different angles because they have different wavelengths. Inside the water droplet, the separated colors reflect off the back surface like a tiny mirror. As the light exits the droplet, it bends again, spreading the colors even further apart. This process happens simultaneously in millions of water droplets, with each droplet contributing a tiny piece of the overall rainbow arc that reaches your eyes. The sequence of colors in a rainbow always follows the same pattern: red on the outside, followed by orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet on the inside. This order reflects the different wavelengths of visible light, from longest, red, to shortest, violet. You can remember the sequence with the acronym ROY-G-BIV. Sometimes you can see a fainter, secondary rainbow outside the primary one with colors in reverse order. This happens when light reflects twice inside the water droplets before exiting. Double rainbows are less common and less vivid because more light is lost during the additional reflection. Rainbows require specific conditions to form: sunlight behind you, water droplets in front of you, and the sun at the right angle in the sky. This explains why rainbows often appear after rain showers when the sun breaks through the clouds, creating the perfect combination of light and moisture. Love. Love is one of humanity's most powerful and complex emotions, creating deep bonds between people that can last entire lifetimes. It involves intense feelings of affection, care, and attachment that motivate us to prioritize another person's well-being alongside or even above our own. Love takes many forms, from romantic passion to parental devotion to lasting friendship, each with its own characteristics and purposes. The experience of love involves multiple brain systems working together. The reward system floods the brain with feel-good chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine, creating the euphoric feelings associated with falling in love. The attachment system releases oxytocin and vasopressin, promoting bonding and long-term commitment. The caregiving system motivates protective and nurturing behaviors toward loved ones. Different types of love serve different evolutionary and social functions. Romantic love helps people form pair bonds that support reproduction and child-rearing. Parental love ensures that adults invest enormous time and energy in caring for their offspring. Friendship love creates social networks that provide support, cooperation, and shared resources. Each type involves similar underlying brain mechanisms but expresses differently in behavior and experience. The stages of romantic love often follow predictable patterns. Initial attraction involves physical and emotional chemistry that draws people together. The passionate love phase features intense emotions, constant thoughts about the other person, and strong physical attraction. Companionate love develops over time, characterized by deep affection, trust, and commitment that can persist even when passion fades. Love profoundly affects physical and mental health. People in loving relationships tend to live longer, experience less stress, and recover more quickly from illness and injury. Love provides emotional support during difficult times and amplifies joy during happy moments. However, love can also create vulnerability, as the potential loss of loved ones becomes a source of anxiety and grief. Understanding love as both an emotion and a biological process helps explain its universal importance in human life while respecting the deeply personal and meaningful experience it creates for individuals. Greed. Greed means an excessive desire for more money, possessions, or resources than one actually needs, often at the expense of others or one's own well-being. It represents a distortion of normal human desires for security and comfort, where the pursuit of more becomes compulsive and never-ending. Greed differs from healthy ambition or prudent planning by its insatiable nature and disregard for the needs and rights of others. The roots of greed lie partly in evolutionary survival mechanisms. Our ancestors who successfully accumulated and protected resources were more likely to survive famines, harsh winters, and other challenges. This biological programming creates natural drives to seek security through acquiring and storing valuable things. In modern abundant societies, these ancient drives can become misdirected toward endless accumulation. Psychological factors also contribute to greedy behavior. Low self-esteem might drive people to seek validation through material possessions or financial success. Fear of scarcity, even when resources are plentiful, can create compulsive hoarding behaviors. Social comparison, where people measure their worth relative to others' possessions, fuels never-ending desires for more. Greed activates the brain's reward systems in ways that can become genuinely addictive. Each acquisition provides temporary satisfaction, but this feeling quickly fades, requiring ever larger amounts or more expensive items to achieve the same pleasure. This creates a cycle where material gain provides diminishing returns while requiring increasing effort and sacrifice. The consequences of greed extend beyond the greedy individual to affect relationships, communities, and society. Excessive focus on personal gain often damages trust, cooperation, and social bonds. Greedy behavior in business and politics can create systemic problems that harm many people. Environmental destruction often results from prioritizing short-term profits over long-term sustainability. Understanding greed as a psychological phenomenon rather than simply moral failing can inform better approaches to addressing it. Cultivating gratitude, focusing on intrinsic rather than external sources of satisfaction, and building strong social connections all help counteract greedy impulses while promoting more fulfilling and sustainable ways of living. Dancing. Dancing is the art of moving your body rhythmically to music, creating expression through coordinated movements that can communicate emotions, tell stories, or simply celebrate the joy of being alive. This fundamental human activity appears in every culture throughout history, suggesting that the urge to move with rhythm is deeply woven into our nature as social beings. At its core, dancing involves the synchronization of movement with musical beats and patterns. Your brain processes the rhythm and timing of music while coordinating complex muscle movements to match the tempo. This requires remarkable integration between your auditory system, motor cortex, and cerebellum. The cerebellum, in particular, plays a crucial role in timing, balance, and the smooth coordination of dance movements. Dancing triggers the release of multiple feel-good chemicals in the brain. Endorphins create natural highs and reduce pain perception. Dopamine generates feelings of pleasure and reward. Serotonin enhances mood and social connection. These neurochemical responses explain why dancing often feels euphoric and why people naturally smile and laugh while moving to music. The social aspects of dancing are equally important as the physical movements. Partner dancing requires constant nonverbal communication, trust, and cooperation. Group dancing creates shared experiences that strengthen social bonds and community connections. Even solo dancing can be a form of self-expression that communicates personality and emotions to observers. Different styles of dance serve different purposes and cultural functions. Ceremonial dances mark important life events and religious celebrations. Folk dances preserve cultural traditions and strengthen community identity. Social dances provide opportunities for courtship and relationship building. Performance dances showcase artistic expression and technical skill. Dancing offers numerous benefits beyond pure enjoyment. It provides excellent cardiovascular exercise while improving balance, coordination, and flexibility. It enhances cognitive function by requiring memory, attention, and quick decision-making. It reduces stress and anxiety while boosting self-confidence and body awareness. The universal appeal of dancing suggests it fulfills deep human needs for rhythm, expression, and connection that transcend cultural boundaries. Small talk. Small talk is the seemingly casual conversation about everyday topics that serves as a social bridge between strangers or acquaintances. These brief exchanges about weather, current events, or shared experiences might appear trivial, but they actually perform crucial social functions that help people connect, establish rapport, and navigate complex social environments. The primary purpose of small talk is not to exchange important information but to signal social intentions and establish mutual comfort. When someone comments on the weather or asks about your weekend, they are really communicating that they are approachable, friendly, and interested in positive social interaction. This helps reduce the uncertainty and potential awkwardness of interacting with people you do not know well. Small talk follows predictable patterns and topics that vary across cultures but serve similar functions everywhere. Safe topics typically include weather, local events, shared experiences like waiting in line, or neutral current events. These subjects allow people to interact without revealing personal information or taking controversial positions that might create conflict or discomfort. The skills involved in effective small talk include reading social cues, finding common ground, and maintaining appropriate levels of interest and engagement. Good small talkers listen actively, ask follow-up questions, and share just enough personal information to seem relatable without oversharing. They also recognize when conversations should naturally end and how to transition gracefully out of interactions. Many people find small talk challenging or superficial, but research shows it serves important psychological and social purposes. It helps people practice social skills in low-stakes situations. It provides opportunities to discover shared interests that might lead to deeper connections. It creates positive social experiences that improve mood and sense of belonging. Small talk also functions as a social lubricant in professional and community settings. It helps coworkers build collegial relationships, enables networking at events, and creates comfortable atmospheres in service interactions. Even brief pleasant exchanges with cashiers or neighbors contribute to overall social well-being and community cohesion. Understanding small talk as purposeful social behavior rather than meaningless chatter can help people appreciate its value and develop better skills for these important everyday interactions. Loneliness. Loneliness is the painful emotional experience of feeling disconnected from others, even when surrounded by people. It represents a gap between the social connections you desire and the connections you actually have. This subjective experience can occur in solitude or in crowded rooms, making it distinct from simply being alone, which many people find peaceful and restorative. The experience of loneliness serves an evolutionary purpose similar to physical pain. Just as pain signals potential damage to your body, loneliness signals threats to your social connections that were crucial for survival throughout human history. Our ancestors who felt distressed when isolated were more likely to seek out the group connections necessary for protection, food sharing, and successful reproduction. Loneliness affects both mental and physical health in profound ways. It activates stress response systems, leading to elevated cortisol levels and inflammation throughout the body. Chronic loneliness increases risks for depression, anxiety, heart disease, weakened immune function, and premature death. The health impacts of persistent loneliness are comparable to smoking or obesity in terms of their effects on mortality. Different types of loneliness require different solutions. Intimate loneliness involves missing close, confiding relationships with family members or romantic partners. Relational loneliness stems from lacking casual friendships and social networks. Collective loneliness occurs when people feel disconnected from larger communities or groups that share their interests and values. Modern life presents unique challenges for maintaining social connections. Geographic mobility separates people from established relationships. Digital communication can sometimes create shallow connections that do not satisfy deeper social needs. Urban environments can create anonymity that prevents natural community formation. Work demands and busy schedules can crowd out time for relationship building and maintenance. Addressing loneliness effectively requires both internal and external approaches. Building self-compassion helps reduce the shame and self-criticism that often accompany loneliness. Developing social skills and emotional intelligence improves the quality of interactions with others. Creating opportunities for regular social contact through volunteering, classes, or community activities provides structure for relationship building. Nostalgia. Nostalgia is the bittersweet emotion that arises when remembering past experiences, particularly from childhood or significant life periods. This complex feeling combines warmth and fondness for earlier times with a sense of loss or sadness that those moments cannot be recaptured. Rather than being a simple longing for the past, nostalgia serves important psychological functions that help people cope with present challenges and maintain identity continuity. The word nostalgia originally combined Greek terms meaning homecoming and pain, reflecting the dual nature of this emotion. Early physicians actually considered nostalgia a medical condition, a form of melancholy that affected soldiers and others separated from their homelands. Modern psychology recognizes nostalgia as a normal and often beneficial emotional experience that most people encounter regularly. Nostalgia typically involves remembering specific personal experiences rather than general historical periods. People feel nostalgic about family gatherings, childhood homes, past relationships, or significant life transitions. These memories are often idealized, focusing on positive aspects while minimizing difficulties or problems that existed at the time. This selective remembering is not dishonest but reflects the psychological functions nostalgia serves. Research shows that nostalgia helps people cope with negative emotions, loneliness, and uncertainty about the future. When feeling sad, anxious, or disconnected, nostalgic memories can provide comfort and reassurance by reminding people of times when they felt loved, competent, or secure. This emotional regulation function makes nostalgia a valuable psychological resource during difficult periods. Nostalgia also helps maintain a coherent sense of identity across time. By connecting present experiences to meaningful past events, nostalgic memories create continuity and meaning in personal narratives. This is particularly important during major life transitions when people might question their identity or direction. Shared nostalgia strengthens social bonds by creating common emotional experiences. When people reminisce together about shared memories, they reinforce their connections and group identity. This explains why families, friends, and communities often engage in nostalgic storytelling during gatherings and reunions. Understanding nostalgia as a normal and beneficial emotion can help people appreciate its role in emotional well-being while avoiding excessive dwelling on the past. OCD. OCD means obsessive-compulsive disorder, a mental health condition characterized by intrusive thoughts and repetitive behaviors that significantly interfere with daily life. People with OCD experience persistent, unwanted thoughts, images, or urges called obsessions that create intense anxiety. To reduce this distress, they perform repetitive actions or mental rituals called compulsions, even though they usually recognize these behaviors as excessive or unreasonable. Common obsessions include fears of contamination, concerns about harm coming to oneself or others, need for symmetry or exactness, and disturbing thoughts about violence or sexuality. These intrusive thoughts feel very real and threatening to people experiencing them, even though they typically understand logically that their fears are exaggerated or irrational. Compulsions are repetitive behaviors or mental acts that people feel compelled to perform in response to obsessions. Common compulsions include excessive hand washing, checking locks or appliances multiple times, arranging objects in specific patterns, counting, or repeating phrases mentally. These behaviors temporarily reduce anxiety but create a cycle where the person becomes increasingly dependent on the rituals. OCD affects the brain circuits that connect the orbital frontal cortex, anterior cingulate cortex, and basal ganglia. These areas normally help evaluate threats, make decisions, and control repetitive behaviors. In OCD, these circuits become hyperactive and stuck in repetitive loops, making it difficult to dismiss intrusive thoughts or stop compulsive behaviors. The condition often begins in childhood or adolescence and tends to be chronic without treatment. It can severely impact relationships, work performance, and quality of life as compulsions consume increasing amounts of time and mental energy. Many people with OCD hide their symptoms due to shame or embarrassment, which can delay diagnosis and treatment. Effective treatments for OCD include cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly exposure and response prevention, which helps people gradually face their fears without performing compulsions. Certain medications can also help reduce symptoms. With proper treatment, most people with OCD can learn to manage their symptoms and significantly improve their functioning. Understanding OCD as a medical condition rather than a character flaw helps reduce stigma and encourages appropriate treatment seeking. Magnet. A magnet is an object that creates an invisible force field capable of attracting certain metals like iron, nickel, and cobalt while repelling other magnets. This mysterious force, called magnetism, operates without any visible connection between objects, making it seem almost magical. Magnets have two poles, north and south, with opposite poles attracting each other and similar poles pushing apart. The magnetic force originates from the movement of electric charges within atoms. In most materials, these tiny electric currents point in random directions, canceling each other out. In magnetic materials, however, groups of atoms align their electric currents in the same direction, creating regions called magnetic domains. When enough domains align throughout the material, the entire object becomes magnetized. Earth itself acts like a giant magnet with magnetic poles located near the geographic north and south poles. This planetary magnetic field protects us from harmful solar radiation and allows compass needles to point toward magnetic north. The Earth's magnetism comes from electric currents in the molten iron core, created by the planet's rotation and convection patterns deep underground. Different types of magnets serve different purposes in modern technology. Permanent magnets retain their magnetic properties without external power and are used in everything from refrigerator doors to electric motors. Electromagnets create magnetic fields only when electric current flows through them, making them useful for applications that need controllable magnetic force, like MRI machines and speakers. Magnetic fields permeate all space around magnets, becoming weaker with distance but never completely disappearing. You can visualize these invisible fields by sprinkling iron filings around a magnet, which will align themselves along the field lines. These patterns reveal the three-dimensional structure of the magnetic force extending outward from the magnet's poles. Modern life depends heavily on magnetic phenomena, from the electric generators that produce our power to the computer hard drives that store our data. Understanding magnetism as a fundamental force of nature helps explain countless technologies while revealing the invisible forces constantly at work around us. AI. AI means artificial intelligence, which refers to computer systems designed to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. These systems can recognize patterns, make decisions, solve problems, and even engage in conversations. Rather than following simple pre-programmed instructions, AI systems can adapt their behavior based on experience and handle situations they have never encountered before. Modern AI works primarily through machine learning, a process where computers analyze vast amounts of data to identify patterns and relationships. Instead of programmers writing specific rules for every possible situation, AI systems learn from examples and develop their own internal models of how things work. This approach allows AI to handle complex, ambiguous problems that would be impossible to solve with traditional programming methods. Different types of AI serve different purposes and have varying capabilities. Narrow AI systems excel at specific tasks like recognizing images, translating languages, or playing games, but cannot transfer their skills to other domains. These specialized systems already surround us in smartphones, search engines, recommendation systems, and many other applications we use daily. The training process for AI involves showing systems millions of examples along with correct answers or desired outcomes. Neural networks, inspired by how brain cells connect and communicate, process this information through multiple layers of simulated neurons. Each layer learns to recognize different features or patterns, building up from simple elements to complex concepts. AI capabilities have expanded dramatically in recent years, with systems now able to generate human-like text, create original images, write computer code, and engage in sophisticated conversations. However, current AI systems still lack true understanding and consciousness. They excel at pattern recognition and prediction but do not genuinely comprehend meaning in the way humans do. The impact of AI continues growing across industries and aspects of daily life. It enhances medical diagnosis, improves transportation safety, personalizes education, and automates routine tasks. Understanding AI as a powerful tool rather than human replacement helps people appreciate both its tremendous potential and current limitations. NFC. NFC means near-field communication, a wireless technology that allows devices to exchange information when brought very close together, typically within a few centimeters. This short-range communication system enables the convenient tap-to-pay transactions, quick device pairing, and instant information sharing that have become increasingly common in smartphones and other modern devices. The near-field aspect of NFC is actually a key security feature rather than a limitation. Because devices must be practically touching to communicate, it becomes much harder for malicious actors to intercept the signal from a distance. This proximity requirement makes NFC ideal for sensitive applications like payment processing, where security is paramount. NFC operates using electromagnetic induction, similar to how wireless charging works. One device creates a small electromagnetic field, while the other device uses an antenna to detect this field and extract both power and data from it. This means that passive NFC tags, like those used for quick Wi-Fi setup or business card sharing, do not need their own power source to function. The technology builds upon radio frequency identification, or RFID, which has been used for decades in applications like keyless entry cards and inventory tracking. NFC essentially represents a standardized, consumer-friendly version of RFID that enables two-way communication between devices rather than just one-way identification. Common NFC applications include contactless payments through digital wallets, rapid Bluetooth pairing between devices, and programmable NFC tags that can trigger specific actions on smartphones. You might tap your phone against a tag to automatically connect to Wi-Fi, launch a specific app, or share contact information with others. The convenience of NFC comes from its simplicity and speed. Complex setup procedures that once required multiple steps and manual configuration can now happen with a single tap. This ease of use has made NFC a bridge technology that makes advanced features accessible to people regardless of their technical expertise. Understanding NFC helps explain the seamless digital interactions that increasingly characterize modern life while highlighting how thoughtful engineering can make complex technology feel effortless and intuitive. Sound. Sound is the movement of vibrations through the world around us. When something shakes, it pushes against the air, the water, or even the ground. Those pushes create waves. The waves travel outward in every direction, carrying energy with them. Our ears are like receivers, built to catch those waves. They turn vibration into electrical signals, and the brain transforms those signals into what we call hearing. A whisper and an explosion are both sound. The difference lies in the strength of the wave. A whisper makes a gentle ripple. An explosion makes a violent shock. The pitch, or the tone, depends on speed. Slow waves bring low, deep sounds. Fast waves bring high, sharp ones. Sound is not only physics. It is emotion. It is how we connect with others. A song can lift us. A voice can comfort us. A cry can warn us. Sound tells stories long before words are understood. Even silence speaks. Silence is not the end of sound, but the moment when waves stop reaching us. Everyday life is filled with sound. The hum of machines. The rhythm of footsteps. The call of birds at dawn. The hush of wind through trees. Each sound carries meaning, even if we do not notice it. For animals, sound can mean survival. A predator is heard before it is seen. For humans, sound builds culture. Music, language, laughter, and prayer all belong to the world of vibration. Sound is invisible, yet it shapes experience. It can soothe, disturb, energize, or inspire. It is constant, moving through space whether we listen or not. Sound means life in motion, carried by waves, meeting us in countless forms each day. Pareidolia. Pareidolia is the mind's trick of seeing patterns that are not truly there. It is when you look at clouds and find faces. When you glance at wood grain and notice eyes staring back. When you hear hidden words in static or noise. Pareidolia is not madness. It is imagination working with perception. The brain is built to find order. To detect familiar shapes, especially faces. Faces mean connection. Faces mean survival. Long ago, this skill helped our ancestors sense danger in shadows, or spot prey in the tall grass. Today, it brings humor and wonder. We laugh when we see a smiling face on a car or a ghost in the folds of a curtain. Pareidolia shows that the human mind does not simply record reality. It interprets. It fills gaps. It adds meaning where none was intended. This power is creative. It makes us artists of the ordinary. We project human qualities onto objects, landscapes, even the sky. That projection is the root of myths and stories. A man in the moon. Animals drawn from constellations. Gods shaped from mountains. Pareidolia has always been with us. At the same time, it teaches us humility. What we see is not always what is there. Our senses can mislead, because they are tuned for survival, not pure truth. Pareidolia makes reality softer, stranger, more playful. It reminds us that imagination is not separate from perception. The two are always together. In every blurred shadow, in every random mark, our minds search for form. That search reveals how deeply we need meaning. Pareidolia means that the world is never empty. The world is alive with possibilities, shaped as much by what we bring to it as by what it gives us. Reflection. Reflection means the return of light. When rays of light hit a surface, they may pass through, vanish into absorption, or bounce back. The bounce is reflection. If the surface is polished, smooth like glass or calm water, the bounce is orderly. The picture comes back almost perfect. You see your face in the mirror. You see the sky in the pond. If the surface is rough, the bounce scatters. The image breaks apart or disappears. Reflection is simple physics, yet it feels like magic. It gives us a second world inside the first. Reflection is also thought. When we reflect, we turn experience back into the mind. We examine, we reconsider, we notice what was hidden before. Just as a mirror reveals a face, mental reflection reveals the shape of choices, feelings, and actions. Both forms of reflection deepen awareness. Light returns to the eyes. Ideas return to the mind. In everyday life, reflection surrounds us. Glass windows catch passing figures. Water doubles the trees above it. Metal gleams with sunlight. Each moment of reflection is a reminder that the world is full of returns. Nothing only goes outward. Some things come back. Reflection also carries symbolism. Cultures have seen mirrors as doors, pools as oracles, and reflected light as truth. To reflect is to see differently. To see more than the first glance allows. Whether in physics or thought, reflection is pause. It is light, or memory, sent outward and then caught again. It is a second chance at perception. Reflection means we are not bound only to what is direct. We can see the world, and ourselves, from another angle, again and again. Friction. Friction is the force that resists motion when two surfaces touch. It is invisible, but you feel it every day. When you walk, your shoes push against the ground, and friction holds you steady. Without it, every step would slip. When you rub your hands together, they grow warm. That heat is friction, energy turned into warmth. Machines rely on friction. A car stops because the brakes create strong friction with the wheels. Tires grip the road through friction. Knots hold because the rope resists slipping against itself. Yet friction is not always helpful. Too much friction wears down machines, grinds away metal, or overheats engines. That is why oil and grease are used, to soften friction and let parts move more smoothly. Friction also shapes the world on a larger scale. It slows rivers as they cut through stone. It warms rocks that enter Earth's atmosphere, turning them into shooting stars. Even earthquakes come from friction, when rocks beneath the ground press, resist, and suddenly slip free. In daily life, friction is balance. It gives control, but also creates resistance. It is what lets us write on paper, strike a match, or climb a hill. It is both ally and obstacle, depending on how we meet it. Friction reminds us that movement is never without cost. Every action carries resistance. Yet that resistance allows stability, safety, and creation. Friction is not only a force. It is a companion in motion, always present, always shaping how the world moves. Echo. An echo is sound returning to us. You shout into a canyon, and the walls throw your voice back. Sound waves travel outward, strike a surface, and bounce. If the surface is close, the bounce blends with the original sound. If it is far enough, you hear the repeat clearly. That repeat is the echo. Echo is simple physics, but it carries deep meaning. It reminds us that sound is not gone once spoken. It travels, touches, and comes back. What we send into the world does not vanish. It lingers, it returns, sometimes softer, sometimes altered, but still alive. Nature uses echoes as tools. Bats send out cries and listen for the returning bounce. From that echo, they know where walls, trees, and insects are. Dolphins and whales do the same in the deep sea. For them, echo is vision made of sound. It is survival through listening. For humans, echo is both wonder and metaphor. In caves, in mountains, in empty rooms, echoes feel like voices answering. They make space seem alive. In poetry and memory, echoes mean repetition, reminders, the return of the past. To say life echoes is to say that our actions carry onward, returning in ways we may not expect. An echo is not just a copy. It is proof that sound connects space, bouncing from one place to another. It tells us that energy never fully disappears. Echo is return. Echo is memory. Echo is the voice of space itself, speaking back to us in the language we gave it. Fire. Fire is energy made visible. It begins when fuel, heat, and oxygen meet in balance. At that point, molecules break apart and join again, releasing light and warmth. Flames are the glowing edge of that release. Fire eats and transforms, turning wood into ash, air into smoke, and night into brightness. Fire is one of the oldest forces humans have lived with. It gave warmth against the cold, light against the dark, and safety against animals. It cooked food, making it easier to eat. It hardened clay and shaped metal, allowing tools and weapons. Fire was survival, but it was also wonder. Ancient people saw it as gift and spirit, powerful and alive. Yet fire is double-edged. It creates, but it can also destroy. Forests burn, cities fall, lives are lost when flames grow beyond control. Fire is both friend and enemy, both comfort and danger. It demands respect. Even today, fire remains central. It powers engines, forges industry, and still brings light to our homes. Candles mark ceremonies. Bonfires gather communities. Flames continue to symbolize life, energy, and spirit. In culture and story, fire is often linked to knowledge, passion, and transformation. Fire teaches us about balance. Too little fire, and life struggles. Too much fire, and life is consumed. It is the energy of change itself, restless and beautiful. To watch fire is to see matter becoming light, a dance of creation and destruction at once. Fire means transformation, written in flames. Snowflakes. Snowflakes are frozen crystals of water, each one a tiny sculpture shaped by air and chance. High in the sky, when moisture cools, it begins to freeze around a small particle of dust. The first crystal forms. As it falls, more water vapor clings to it and freezes, building arms and patterns. Temperature, humidity, and the path it travels decide its final shape. That is why no two snowflakes are alike. Each is the memory of its journey through the clouds. Snowflakes are fragile. They melt at the touch of warmth. Yet while they last, they carry astonishing beauty. Their designs look carved by hand, yet they are born from simple laws of physics, repeated again and again. Sixfold symmetry forms naturally as water molecules lock into place. From that symmetry comes endless variety. Snowflakes remind us of uniqueness. Millions may fall in a storm, yet each is different. They remind us of impermanence too. Their beauty exists only for a moment, before vanishing into water. Still, that briefness adds to their wonder. In culture, snowflakes often symbolize purity, gentleness, and individuality. They soften the world with silence, covering the ground with a blanket of light. Children catch them on their tongues. Poets see in them the fleeting nature of life. Snowflakes teach that complexity can grow from simplicity. That beauty can be unplanned, shaped only by chance and law. They show that nature is always creating art, silently, invisibly, and without effort. A snowflake is a frozen whisper of the sky, falling to earth in perfect silence. Phases of the moon. The phases of the moon are the changing shapes of light we see across the month. The moon does not shine by itself. It reflects sunlight. As it orbits Earth, the angle between sun, moon, and Earth shifts. That angle changes how much of the moon's face is lit from our view. When the moon is between Earth and sun, the lit side faces away, and we see darkness. That is the new moon. As it moves, a thin crescent appears. More of its surface becomes visible until it reaches half. Then it swells into gibbous, until the full moon rises, bright and round. After that, the light fades again, shrinking through the same steps, back to darkness. The cycle takes about a month. These phases once guided human life. Farmers planted and harvested by them. Sailors navigated seas with their light. Festivals and calendars followed the moon's rhythm. Even now, many cultures mark time and meaning by its phases. The moon's changes carry symbolism. Waxing means growth. Fullness means completion. Waning means decline and return. The cycle mirrors the cycles of life itself. What is hidden comes back. What is full eventually fades. Yet the moon never disappears. It is always whole, always present. What changes is only how we see it. The phases of the moon remind us that time moves in circles, not only in straight lines. They show that light and shadow take turns, and that change is not loss but part of a greater pattern. To watch the moon is to watch the dance of earth, sun, and sky, unfolding endlessly above us. Radio waves. Radio waves are invisible ripples of energy moving through space. They are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, the same family as light, X-rays, and microwaves. The difference lies in size. Radio waves are much longer. They can stretch from a few centimeters to many kilometers. That length allows them to travel far, bend around hills, and pass through walls. When an antenna creates an electric vibration, it sends out radio waves. Another antenna, far away, catches them. The wave is turned back into sound or data. This is how radio broadcasting works. A voice or song is transformed into waves, launched into the air, and received miles away. The same principle powers television, Wi-Fi, and mobile phones. Radio waves connect the world. They carry news across continents, guide airplanes through the sky, and let astronauts talk from space. They are silent, unseen, yet full of voices, music, and signals. Without them, modern communication would not exist. Nature makes radio waves too. The sun sends out bursts. Lightning strikes release radio noise. Even distant stars and galaxies shine in radio frequencies, which scientists use to study the universe. Radio telescopes, large dishes pointed at the sky, collect these signals and reveal hidden structures beyond visible light. Radio waves remind us that space around us is never empty. It is filled with streams of energy, flowing constantly, waiting to be received. They show that what is unseen can still be powerful. Every call, every broadcast, every connection is carried by these invisible ripples, spreading endlessly outward at the speed of light. Induction. Induction is the process where energy appears without direct touch. In electricity, induction happens when a moving magnetic field creates an electric current in a nearby wire. No contact is needed. The motion of the magnetic field alone is enough to stir the electrons and make them flow. This principle was discovered in the 19th century by Michael Faraday. His experiments showed that electricity and magnetism are deeply linked. A changing magnetic field makes electricity, and moving electricity makes a magnetic field. Together, they form the heart of modern technology. Induction powers generators. In a power plant, turbines spin magnets near coils of wire. The motion creates current, which travels through wires to homes and cities. Induction also drives transformers, which raise or lower voltage so electricity can travel long distances safely. Even wireless chargers for phones use induction, transferring energy through a magnetic field without wires. Induction is everywhere, though often hidden. It lights cities, drives trains, and keeps machines alive. It shows that forces can act invisibly, crossing space without direct contact. To see induction is to see the link between motion and energy, between the unseen and the useful. Induction teaches that energy is never trapped. It moves, shifts, and transforms, often in surprising ways. It is not magic, though it feels like it. It is the language of electricity and magnetism, written into the fabric of the universe. Osmosis. Osmosis is the movement of water through a barrier. Imagine a thin wall that allows only water to pass but blocks larger particles. On one side of the wall, the water is pure. On the other, it is mixed with salt or sugar. Water naturally moves toward the side with more particles, seeking balance. This flow is osmosis. Cells and living things depend on osmosis. Their thin membranes let water move in and out, controlling balance. If too much water enters, a cell may swell. If too much leaves, it may shrink. Through osmosis, cells absorb nutrients, release waste, and maintain life. Plants draw water from the soil by osmosis, pulling moisture upward into their roots. Osmosis is gentle, yet powerful. It does not need pumps or machines. It follows natural laws, always moving toward equal concentration. Scientists use this principle in desalination, turning seawater into drinking water. Osmosis also explains why soaking fruit in sugar makes it shrivel, or why our skin wrinkles in long baths. Osmosis is balance in action. It shows that nature seeks harmony, even at the smallest scales. It teaches that movement is not always forceful. Sometimes, it is slow, invisible, and steady, yet essential. Without osmosis, life as we know it could not exist. It is the quiet exchange that keeps every cell alive. Cooking. Cooking is the art and science of changing food with heat. When heat touches food, molecules move faster, bonds break, and new flavors and textures form. Raw vegetables soften. Meat becomes tender. Bread dough rises and turns golden. Heat transforms what is hard to chew or digest into meals full of taste and energy. Cooking began with fire. For early humans, cooking was survival. It made food safer, killing harmful bacteria. It made roots, grains, and meat easier to digest, giving more strength. But it also became more than survival. It became culture. Families gather at fires, tables, and stoves. Recipes pass through generations. Cooking is memory, identity, and community. Cooking involves many processes. Boiling transfers heat through water. Frying uses oil to create crisp textures. Baking surrounds food in hot air, making it rise and brown. Each method changes food differently, shaping flavor and experience. Science hides in every step. Caramelization turns sugar golden. Proteins in meat rearrange, creating new taste. Spices release oils and heat, filling the air with aroma. What feels like magic is chemistry, repeating endlessly in kitchens around the world. Cooking is balance between necessity and art. It is daily work and celebration at once. It shows how humans transform nature into nourishment and beauty. Cooking means more than eating. It means connection, creativity, and the joy of turning the simple into the extraordinary. Heat. Heat is the energy of motion in matter. Every atom and molecule shakes and moves. The faster they move, the hotter the object feels. Heat is not a substance, but energy in transfer. It flows from warmer places to colder ones, always seeking balance. Heat moves in three main ways. Conduction is touch, like a spoon growing hot in soup. Convection is movement, like warm air rising and cool air sinking. Radiation is energy sent out as waves, like sunlight warming skin. Heat is everywhere. It fuels the weather, drives engines, and shapes life. Our bodies burn food, releasing heat that keeps us alive. Stars burn endlessly, their heat shining across space. Without heat, the universe would be frozen, silent, and still. Yet heat is double-edged. Too little brings cold and stillness. Too much brings fire, drought, and harm. Heat is balance, a force to respect. In culture, heat symbolizes passion, energy, anger, and love. It is both physical and emotional. The warmth of a hug, the heat of summer, the fire of excitement, these all connect the physical with the felt. Heat teaches that energy is movement. Nothing rests completely. Even in silence, atoms vibrate. Heat is life in motion, flowing endlessly, connecting every part of the world. Electricity. Electricity is the flow of charged particles, usually electrons. These tiny particles move through materials, carrying energy with them. A spark is a sudden release. A lightning bolt is a giant stream through the sky. A wire carries a steady flow to power lights, machines, and homes. Electricity begins with charge. Some objects gain or lose electrons, becoming charged. Opposite charges attract, like magnets pulling together. This attraction makes electrons move. That motion is current, the heartbeat of electricity. Humans learned to control this force only recently. In a few centuries, electricity has reshaped the world. It powers cities, runs computers, lights homes, and connects voices across oceans. It turns the night bright and the silent loud. Electricity travels in circuits. Energy is pushed by a source, like a battery or generator, through a path. Along the way, it does work, heating, lighting, turning motors, before returning to the source. Nature also creates electricity. Lightning storms charge the sky. Electric fish shock prey with bursts. Even inside us, tiny electrical pulses fire through nerves, controlling muscles and thought. Electricity feels like magic, yet it is law. It is energy in motion, invisible yet powerful. It binds modern life together, reminding us that the world is full of forces waiting to be discovered. Black holes. Black holes are regions in space where gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, not even light. They are born when massive stars collapse at the end of their lives. Their matter falls inward, crushing into a tiny point called a singularity. Around that point lies the event horizon, a boundary. Once crossed, return is impossible. Black holes do not pull everything mindlessly. From far away, they act like normal stars of the same mass. Planets could orbit one safely, if distant enough. Danger lies close, where gravity curves space into a trap. Black holes come in many sizes. Some are a few times heavier than our sun. Others, called supermassive black holes, sit in the centers of galaxies, weighing millions or billions of suns. These giants shape galaxies, swallowing matter, shaping stars, and releasing powerful jets of energy. Though invisible, black holes can be detected. Gas falling into them heats up, glowing brightly. Stars orbiting near them reveal their hidden weight. Ripples in spacetime, called gravitational waves, also betray their collisions. Black holes are mysteries as much as realities. They test the limits of physics. Inside them, time and space twist beyond understanding. Some theories imagine new universes hidden within. Others say information is never truly lost, though hidden at the edge. Black holes remind us of extremes. They are the silence after a star's death, and the engines at the heart of galaxies. They are both destruction and creation. To think of them is to look at the edge of knowledge itself. Electromagnetic force. The electromagnetic force is one of the four fundamental forces of nature. It binds charged particles together and pushes them apart. It is the reason atoms hold together, the reason light exists, and the reason electricity and magnetism are linked. At its core, the electromagnetic force has two sides. Electric force comes from charges. Like charges repel, opposite charges attract. Magnetic force comes from moving charges, creating fields that bend and pull. Together, they form one united force, described by Maxwell's equations in the 19th century. This force shapes everyday life. It holds atoms, as electrons orbit nuclei through electric attraction. It powers technology, from motors to computers. It carries radio, light, and X-rays, all waves of the electromagnetic field. Without it, matter would fall apart, and the universe would be dark. The electromagnetic force is far stronger than gravity, though it acts only on charged particles. It explains lightning in the sky, magnets on a fridge, and the colors of a rainbow. It reaches across space, connecting energy with matter. In daily life, we rarely think of it, yet it touches every moment. Every spark, every ray of light, every chemical bond is the work of this force. It is everywhere, linking the smallest atoms to the vast waves of light that cross the cosmos. The electromagnetic force teaches us that unity lies beneath variety. Electricity, magnetism, and light are not separate things, but different faces of the same power. It is a single thread, weaving through matter, energy, and life. Microwaves. Microwaves are a type of electromagnetic wave, sitting just beyond radio waves on the spectrum. They are invisible ripples of energy, shorter than radio waves but longer than infrared light. Their special length makes them useful for communication and cooking. In kitchens, microwaves heat food by vibrating water molecules. When the waves pass through food, water inside absorbs the energy and begins to move quickly. That motion creates heat, which spreads and warms the food. This is why microwaves heat soups, vegetables, and leftovers so quickly. However, foods with very little water heat less evenly. Microwaves are not only for ovens. They also carry information. Mobile phones, Wi-Fi, and satellites rely on microwaves to send data. Because microwaves can pass through clouds, rain, and even walls, they are excellent for communication. Radar systems use them to detect planes, ships, and even weather patterns, bouncing waves off objects and measuring their return. Microwaves are everywhere around us, silent and unseen. They travel through the air, through space, even through our homes. Though powerful, they are controlled carefully in everyday use, kept safe by shielding and precise design. Microwaves show us that invisible energy shapes daily life. From cooking meals to connecting phones, they are threads in the fabric of modern living. They remind us that waves are not only things we see, like water or light, but also hidden forces carrying heat, signals, and possibility. Air conditioner. An air conditioner is a machine that moves heat. Its purpose is not to create cold but to take warmth from inside a room and release it outside. It works through a cycle of compression, expansion, and circulation of a special fluid called refrigerant. The refrigerant absorbs heat as it evaporates inside the unit. A compressor then squeezes it, raising its pressure and temperature. Outside coils release the heat into the air. The refrigerant cools, turns liquid again, and flows back inside to absorb more heat. This cycle repeats endlessly, pulling warmth from the indoors and pushing it outdoors. Fans help move air across coils, spreading coolness inside and releasing heat outside. Filters clean dust and particles, keeping air fresh. Thermostats control temperature, turning the system on and off to maintain comfort. Air conditioners are more than comfort machines. In hot climates, they protect health, prevent overheating, and make cities livable. In workplaces, they keep machines from failing. Hospitals rely on them for safe conditions. Beyond cooling, they also reduce humidity, making the air easier to breathe. Yet air conditioners also use energy, and their spread shapes global demand for electricity. They remind us that comfort has a cost, and efficiency matters. An air conditioner is a cycle of transformation, a dance of heat and cold. It shows that temperature is not a fixed thing but energy moving, shifting, and being controlled. To cool a room is to move warmth, turning climate into comfort through science and design. Refrigerators. A refrigerator is a box that fights against nature. Left alone, food spoils because heat, bacteria, and time break it down. A refrigerator slows this process by keeping food cold. Like an air conditioner, it does not create cold but removes heat, pushing it outward. Inside the fridge, a refrigerant circulates. As it evaporates in coils, it absorbs heat from the food and air. A compressor then squeezes the gas, releasing heat outside the fridge. The refrigerant turns liquid again and repeats the cycle. This constant exchange keeps the inside cool, even as the outside stays warm. The refrigerator is more than a machine. It changed human history. Before it, people salted, smoked, or dried food to preserve it. Ice was cut from lakes and stored in houses. With refrigeration, fresh food could last days or weeks, families could store meals, and trade in perishable goods expanded across the world. Refrigerators also reduce waste. They slow decay, giving time to eat or use food before it spoils. Yet they, too, use energy. Older systems released chemicals harmful to the atmosphere. Newer ones are safer but still part of the global energy puzzle. A refrigerator is quiet persistence. It hums softly, night and day, pulling heat out of food, keeping it fresh. It is a hidden companion in every home, shaping how we eat, shop, and live. It is proof that controlling temperature changed daily life forever. Battery. A battery is stored energy waiting to be released. Inside, chemical reactions create an imbalance of charge. One side builds up electrons, while the other side has fewer. Connect them with a wire, and the electrons rush to balance, creating an electric current. That current powers lights, phones, cars, and countless devices. Batteries come in many forms. Some are single-use, their chemicals spent once the balance is gone. Others are rechargeable, where energy is pushed back in, restoring the imbalance for reuse. Rechargeable batteries power laptops, electric cars, and even satellites. The first batteries were simple stacks of metals and liquids. Today, lithium-ion batteries dominate, storing large amounts of energy in small spaces. They have transformed technology, making portable electronics and renewable power possible. Batteries are bridges between chemistry and electricity. They turn stored chemical energy into flowing electric energy. They are not endless, but they extend power to places without wires. They keep pacemakers alive, flashlights glowing, and entire grids stable when paired with solar or wind energy. A battery is both simple and profound. At heart, it is imbalance. That imbalance becomes movement, and movement becomes power. From pocket devices to global energy systems, batteries hold the key to mobility, storage, and independence. They are containers of potential, silent until called to release their charge. Computer. A computer is a machine that processes information. At its core, it follows instructions, called programs, to transform input into output. A keyboard, camera, or sensor provides input. The computer's circuits process it. The screen, sound, or network provides the result. Inside a computer, billions of tiny switches called transistors control the flow of electricity. Each transistor represents a 1 or a 0. Together, they form the binary code that underlies everything digital. Words, images, music, and video, all become patterns of ones and zeros, moving at incredible speed. Computers can store information, calculate, and make decisions based on logic. They can simulate weather, play music, guide airplanes, and connect billions of people. They are tools of memory, creativity, and communication. The history of computers is one of shrinking size and growing power. Early machines filled rooms. Today, powerful computers fit into pockets. Yet the principle is the same: input, process, output. Computers are extensions of human thought. They cannot think as we do, but they follow instructions with precision. With programming, they can mimic reasoning, recognize patterns, and learn. Artificial intelligence takes this further, letting machines adapt and improve over time. A computer is not only hardware or software. It is a partner in modern life, shaping work, play, and connection. It is a mirror of human logic, speed multiplied by billions. To use a computer is to share thought with a machine, turning information into action. Weather. Weather is the state of the atmosphere in a place and time. It is the dance of temperature, wind, pressure, and moisture. Clouds form, winds rise, rain falls, snow drifts, and the sky clears. Weather changes constantly, shaped by the sun, the earth, and the movement of air. The sun heats earth unevenly. Oceans, land, and mountains warm at different rates. Warm air rises, cool air sinks, and winds form. Moisture evaporates into air, then condenses into clouds. Pressure systems shift, creating calm skies or violent storms. Weather is local. One town may see sunshine while another, nearby, faces rain. It is also fleeting, changing by the hour. Yet weather follows patterns that scientists study to predict. Forecasting combines satellites, sensors, and models to read the movements of the atmosphere. Weather matters to all life. It decides crops, travel, safety, and comfort. A storm can flood cities. A drought can starve fields. A clear day can lift spirits. Weather shapes history and daily routine alike. Weather also connects us to nature's power. It shows that Earth is alive, restless, and always moving. It reminds us of our limits. We cannot control weather, only adapt to it. Weather means change. It is the ever-shifting breath of the planet, felt in every gust, drop, and ray. It is both ordinary and extraordinary, the backdrop of daily life and the stage for nature's drama. Water. Water is the most familiar and the most essential liquid on Earth. It covers most of the planet, fills our bodies, and sustains all known life. Chemically, it is two atoms of hydrogen bonded to one atom of oxygen. Simple, yet extraordinary. Water is unique in its states. As a liquid, it flows and shapes landscapes. As ice, it builds glaciers and preserves the past. As vapor, it forms clouds and carries weather. Few substances exist so easily in all three states on Earth. Water dissolves more substances than any other liquid. It carries minerals, nutrients, and life itself. Rivers carve valleys. Rain nourishes soil. Oceans cradle ecosystems. Our bodies are mostly water. It carries blood, cools temperature, and enables every cell to function. Without water, life cannot exist. Too little, and survival fails. Too much, and floods destroy. Culturally, water symbolizes purity, renewal, and change. It cleanses, refreshes, and restores. Yet it also represents power, chaos, and depth. It is gentle as a stream, violent as a storm, vast as the sea. Water is balance. It is common, yet precious. Abundant, yet fragile. It flows through nature, culture, and spirit. To understand water is to understand life itself. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are the fruiting bodies of fungi, organisms different from plants and animals. They appear above ground as caps and stems, but most of the fungus lives hidden in soil or wood as fine threads called mycelium. Mycelium spreads through the earth, breaking down dead material and recycling nutrients. Mushrooms appear when conditions are right, releasing spores that drift on air to grow new colonies. They are not seeds but carriers of life for the fungus. Mushrooms play vital roles in ecosystems. They decompose fallen trees and leaves, turning waste into fertile soil. Some form partnerships with plant roots, helping trees absorb nutrients in exchange for sugars. Without fungi, forests could not thrive. For humans, mushrooms are both food and medicine. Some are rich and edible, adding flavor to meals. Others are deadly, carrying toxins. For centuries, mushrooms have also been used for healing, rituals, and even spiritual journeys. Mushrooms are reminders of mystery. They appear suddenly after rain, then vanish quickly. They connect life and decay, death and renewal. They are humble yet powerful, silent workers beneath the soil. Culturally, mushrooms symbolize transformation, mystery, and hidden strength. They show that life often grows unseen, and what rises above ground is only a glimpse of a deeper network below. Mushrooms are bridges between worlds, between life and death, surface and soil, seen and unseen. They remind us that the ground itself is alive, connected by threads of growth that shape the living earth. Virus. A virus is a tiny particle that exists at the edge of life. It cannot live or reproduce on its own. Instead, it carries genetic material, either DNA or RNA, wrapped in a shell of protein. Some viruses also have a fatty coating. By itself, a virus is inactive, almost like a seed. To multiply, it must enter a living cell. When a virus invades, it uses the cell's machinery to copy itself. The cell becomes a factory, producing new viruses until it bursts or releases them. This process spreads infection through the body. Viruses cause illnesses from the common cold to influenza, from measles to COVID-19. Yet not all viruses are harmful. Some infect only bacteria. Others may even help balance ecosystems. Scientists debate whether viruses are alive. They have genetic material and evolve over time. But they cannot eat, breathe, or grow without a host. They exist in a gray area, between chemistry and biology. Viruses are ancient, older than humans, older even than many forms of life. They shape evolution, forcing species to adapt. Some fragments of viral DNA even remain inside our own genes, passed down through generations. Viruses remind us of both fragility and resilience. Something so small, invisible to the eye, can reshape societies and histories. Yet human knowledge, through vaccines and medicine, shows that even viruses can be understood and resisted. A virus is not only an enemy but also a mirror of life's complexity, testing the balance between survival and adaptation. Bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled organisms, far older than humans and found almost everywhere. They live in soil, water, air, and inside other living things. Though small, bacteria are full living cells. They grow, divide, and adapt quickly. Some bacteria cause disease. They produce toxins or invade tissues, leading to infections such as pneumonia, tuberculosis, or food poisoning. Yet many bacteria are helpful, even essential. In our intestines, they help digest food and produce vitamins. In nature, they recycle nutrients, breaking down dead material and enriching soil. Bacteria reproduce by splitting in two, sometimes in minutes. This speed allows them to adapt, developing resistance to drugs. Antibiotics kill bacteria, but misuse has led to resistant strains, a growing challenge in medicine. Bacteria are also used by humans in industry and science. They help make cheese, yogurt, and bread. They produce medicines, clean oil spills, and support research in genetics. Seen under a microscope, bacteria take many shapes: spheres, rods, spirals. They may move with tiny tails or float freely. Despite their size, they are among the most successful forms of life, shaping Earth for billions of years. Bacteria remind us that life is diverse and interconnected. They can harm, but they also heal. They are silent workers in ecosystems and allies in our own bodies. To understand bacteria is to see that life is never only good or bad, but a balance of forces, each playing a part in the living world. Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs were ancient reptiles that ruled the earth for more than 160 million years. They appeared over 230 million years ago, growing into many shapes and sizes. Some were small, quick, and bird-like. Others were giants, taller than buildings and heavier than trucks. Dinosaurs were not all fierce predators. Many were gentle plant-eaters, grazing in herds. Some lived on land, others near water. They laid eggs and grew in diverse environments, from forests to deserts. About 66 million years ago, most dinosaurs disappeared. A massive asteroid struck Earth, causing fire, dust, and climate change. Volcanoes may have added to the destruction. With plants dying, food chains collapsed. The age of dinosaurs ended, but their relatives lived on. Birds are the direct descendants of certain dinosaurs, carrying their legacy into the skies today. Fossils reveal their story. Bones turned to stone show size and shape. Footprints mark ancient paths. Feathers preserved in rock show that some dinosaurs were colorful and warm-blooded. Science continues to uncover how they lived, hunted, and cared for their young. Dinosaurs capture imagination because they mix the familiar with the strange. They were real, yet they seem like creatures of myth. They remind us that Earth changes, that power and dominance do not last forever. They show both the fragility of life and its ability to evolve. Dinosaurs are gone, yet their shadow stretches into the present, written in stone and in the beating wings of birds. Printer. A printer is a machine that turns digital information into physical form. It takes the data from a computer or phone and presses it onto paper, creating text or images. The simplest printers use ink. Tiny nozzles spray drops in precise patterns, building letters and pictures. Others use heat to fuse powdered toner onto paper, a process found in laser printers. Each page appears quickly, shaped by invisible instructions. Printers have many uses. They create books, forms, posters, and photos. In offices, they record contracts and reports. In homes, they capture homework, recipes, or family pictures. Printers are bridges between the digital and the physical world. Technology continues to expand printing. 3D printers use layers of material, not ink, to build solid objects. With them, designs become tools, models, or even parts of machines. Printing has moved beyond paper, shaping industries and medicine. Printers remind us that information is not only electronic. It can be touched, shared, and preserved on a page. In a world of screens, printers continue to give permanence. They make memory tangible, turning signals into something we can hold in our hands. Solar System. The solar system is our cosmic home. At its center shines the sun, a star of burning gas, giving light and heat. Around it orbit planets, moons, comets, and asteroids, all bound by gravity. The inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, are rocky. Small, solid worlds, close to the sun. The outer planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are giants. Made of gas or ice, they dwarf Earth in size. Around them spin dozens of moons, some as strange as planets themselves. Beyond Neptune lies the Kuiper Belt, a region of icy bodies, including dwarf planets like Pluto. Further still, at the edge of the system, lies the Oort cloud, a vast shell of comets, stretching into deep space. The solar system formed about 4.6 billion years ago from a swirling cloud of gas and dust. Gravity pulled matter together, creating the sun, then planets and moons. It is still evolving, shaped by impacts, storms, and orbits. The solar system is not empty. Solar wind streams outward. Meteors fall through skies. Spacecraft launched by humans now travel its vast distances, sending back knowledge. Our solar system is a family of worlds, diverse yet connected by the pull of the sun. It reminds us of our place in the universe, one small planet among many, circling a star among countless others. Star. A star is a ball of gas burning with light and heat. At its heart, atoms of hydrogen fuse into helium, releasing enormous energy. This process, called nuclear fusion, keeps the star shining. Stars are born in clouds of gas and dust. Gravity pulls the cloud inward until it heats and ignites. The new star begins its life, glowing for millions or billions of years. Small stars burn slowly, lasting long. Massive stars burn quickly, living short, dramatic lives. When stars die, they change form. Some fade into white dwarfs. Others explode as supernovae, scattering heavy elements across space. From those elements, new stars, planets, and even life are formed. Our own sun is a medium-sized star, still in the middle of its life. Stars appear as points of light, but each is immense. Many are larger, brighter, and hotter than the sun. They group together in galaxies, billions of them lighting the universe. Constellations, patterns of stars, have guided humans for navigation and storytelling across history. A star is both ordinary and extraordinary. Ordinary because they fill the sky in countless numbers. Extraordinary because each is a furnace of creation, shaping the cosmos. Stars remind us that light has a source, and that the atoms in our bodies were forged in their hearts. We are, in a way, the children of stars. Paper. Paper is a thin material made from fibers, usually wood or plants, pressed together and dried. Though simple, it has shaped civilization. Paper holds writing, drawings, and records. It carries knowledge, memory, and art. The earliest papers were made from papyrus in Egypt and mulberry bark in China. Over centuries, the craft spread across the world. Modern paper is often made from trees, ground into pulp, pressed into sheets, and rolled out in great machines. Paper is flexible. It can be smooth or rough, thick or thin. It becomes books, letters, newspapers, money, and packaging. Children fold it into shapes. Artists paint on it. Scientists record ideas on it. It is both fragile and enduring. Though digital screens rise, paper still matters. It gives permanence and touch. A page can be held, folded, carried, and kept for centuries. Libraries are filled with paper, storing the story of humanity. Paper reminds us that simple materials can carry great weight. It is light, yet it holds worlds. It is common, yet essential. From contracts to poetry, from maps to music sheets, paper is the silent foundation of memory. To hold paper is to hold a piece of human history, pressed into thin layers of fiber, carrying thought from one mind to another across time. Galaxy. A galaxy is a vast island of stars, gas, dust, and invisible matter, all bound together by gravity. It is a system so large that numbers almost lose meaning. Our own galaxy, the Milky Way, holds hundreds of billions of stars. Many of those stars have planets, moons, and asteroids circling them. Together, they form a community of worlds inside one galaxy. Galaxies come in many shapes. Some are spirals, with graceful arms winding outward like whirlpools of light. Others are elliptical, more rounded and smooth, like glowing clouds. Still others are irregular, scattered without clear form. Each shape tells a story of how the galaxy was born, how it collided, merged, or evolved over time. At the heart of many galaxies lies a black hole, millions or even billions of times heavier than our sun. Its gravity pulls stars and gas into orbit around it, shaping the galaxy's center. Though black holes are invisible, their presence gives galaxies structure. Galaxies are not alone. They gather into clusters, and clusters join into superclusters, forming a vast web across the universe. Between them stretch enormous spaces, almost empty. Yet when seen from afar, galaxies themselves are like bright points of light, just as stars appear to us in the night sky. The light from a galaxy takes millions or even billions of years to reach us. When we observe them, we look back in time, seeing them as they were long ago. Some galaxies appear young, still forming stars. Others are old, their stars fading, their light dimming. The Milky Way is our home galaxy, a spiral disk with our sun resting in one of its arms. On clear nights, when we see a band of pale light across the sky, we are looking at the combined glow of countless stars within it. Beyond our galaxy lie billions more, each with their own suns, planets, and mysteries. A galaxy is not just a collection of stars. It is a stage of creation, destruction, and renewal. It reminds us that the universe is far larger than we can fully imagine, and yet we are part of its fabric, living inside one shining spiral of light. Nebula. A nebula is a vast cloud of gas and dust floating in space. From far away, it looks like a colorful mist or patch of light. In reality, a nebula can be many light years across, stretching farther than the distance between stars. Nebulae are both the cradles and the graves of stars. They are places where stars are born, and also where stars end their lives. When gravity pulls parts of a nebula together, clumps form. These clumps heat up and, over time, ignite as new stars. Around them, leftover gas and dust can gather into planets. In this way, a nebula is the starting point of entire solar systems. Other nebulae form when stars die. A dying star may explode in a supernova, throwing its outer layers into space. The glowing debris becomes a nebula, spreading the heavy elements that will later help form new stars and worlds. In this cycle, nebulae are both endings and beginnings. Seen through telescopes, nebulae appear in shapes and colors that stir imagination. Some look like eagles, crabs, or even human faces. The colors come from gases like hydrogen and oxygen, lit by nearby stars. To the naked eye, they may be faint. Through science, they become radiant and alive. A nebula reminds us of change. Matter does not vanish. It shifts, collapses, explodes, and reforms. What was once a cloud becomes a star. What was once a star becomes a cloud again. We, too, carry atoms forged in ancient nebulae. In a way, we are made of their dust. Motor. A motor is a machine that changes energy into motion. At its heart lies a simple idea: power can be converted into movement that drives wheels, fans, or tools. Motors are everywhere, in cars, washing machines, and even tiny toys. There are many types of motors, but two are most common. An electric motor uses electricity. When current flows through coils of wire, it creates a magnetic field. This field pushes against magnets inside the motor, causing the shaft to spin. The spinning shaft can then turn gears, wheels, or blades. Another type is the combustion motor, often called an engine. Instead of electricity, it uses fuel. Gasoline or diesel burns inside cylinders. The burning fuel expands, pushing pistons up and down. Those pistons turn a crankshaft, which creates motion. Motors have changed human life. They power vehicles that move us across cities and continents. They run machines that build, clean, and carry. They make modern work and comfort possible. Without motors, industries would slow, and daily life would feel much harder. A motor is simple in principle but powerful in effect. It shows how controlled energy can shape the physical world. With every hum, spin, or roar, a motor turns invisible power into motion we can see and use. Gasoline. Gasoline is a liquid fuel made from petroleum, a substance drawn from deep beneath the earth. Thick crude oil is taken from the ground, then refined in factories. In that refining process, it is separated into different parts, one of which is gasoline. Gasoline is highly flammable. When it is mixed with air and ignited, it releases a burst of energy. That energy is what powers most cars, motorcycles, and small machines. In an engine, gasoline is sprayed into cylinders, where tiny explosions drive pistons. Those pistons turn motion into movement of wheels. Gasoline changed the modern world. Before it, people traveled with animals, sails, or steam. With gasoline engines, speed increased, distances shrank, and industries expanded. Entire cities and nations came to depend on it. But gasoline also has costs. Burning it releases gases like carbon dioxide, which affect the climate. Spills pollute water and soil. Wars and politics have been shaped by the struggle for oil, the source of gasoline. Still, gasoline remains one of the most used fuels. It is portable, powerful, and relatively easy to produce. Alternatives are rising, such as electricity and hydrogen. Yet for now, gasoline continues to move millions of vehicles every day. Gasoline is not only a liquid. It is a force that transformed human civilization. It connects deep earth resources with modern motion, showing how energy hidden underground can shape the surface of our lives. Gunpowder. Gunpowder is one of the oldest explosive substances known to humans. It is a simple mixture of three parts: saltpeter, charcoal, and sulfur. When lit, the powder burns quickly, releasing gas and heat. This sudden release of energy creates an explosion. Gunpowder was invented in China more than 1,000 years ago. At first, it was used for fireworks, filling the skies with light and sound. Later, it became the basis for weapons, cannons, muskets, and bombs. Its power changed the course of history, shifting battles, empires, and technology. The strength of gunpowder is not just in destruction. It is in its ability to push. In a gun, the burning powder expands, forcing a bullet forward. In a cannon, it hurls a heavy ball. In mining, it broke stone, opening tunnels and roads. Today, gunpowder has been replaced in many places by more powerful explosives. But it remains important in fireworks, signals, and some small arms. Its chemistry is simple, yet its impact on humanity is enormous. Gunpowder shows how a mix of everyday materials can change the world. From celebration to war, from art to conquest, it has been both a symbol of joy and a tool of fear. In its smoke lies the story of human invention, power, and consequence. Dynamite. Dynamite is an explosive invented in the 19th century by Alfred Nobel. Before it, gunpowder was the main tool for blasting. Nobel found a safer way to handle a stronger explosive, nitroglycerin. He absorbed it into a solid substance, then wrapped it in tubes. The result was dynamite, powerful but more stable. When lit with a fuse, dynamite explodes with great force. It can break rock, move earth, and demolish structures. This made it useful in mining, construction, and building railroads. With dynamite, tunnels were carved through mountains, and canals were dug across continents. But dynamite also became a weapon. Its power was used in wars and conflicts, leading Nobel to reflect on the harm it caused. Ironically, the fortune he made from dynamite later funded the Nobel Prizes, awards for peace, science, and literature. Dynamite symbolizes both creation and destruction. It helped build modern infrastructure, yet it also fueled violence. Its power is a reminder that technology itself is neutral. It is human choice that decides how it is used. Today, dynamite is less common, replaced by even safer explosives. Yet its history remains a lesson in invention. From the spark of chemistry came a tool that reshaped landscapes and human destiny alike.